Okay, welcome everybody to the 25th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And as usual, we're ready to be in contact with Mr. Kesh of the Kesh Foundation and at the Spaceship Institute in Italy. And there'll be a couple of other knowledge seekers that'll be joining him. And he has some very interesting information to tell us about, some new concepts and inventions, and he's already just given us a video to show regarding the torch, the Kesh torch, the flashlight that people have been interested in for quite some time. So it will be explained in detail, and we're looking forward to today's session. So, Mr. Kesh, would you like to take it away there?
Good day to everyone. Good morning who woke up in this Europe, and good evening to the Canadians who are going to sleep. Today's session is as usual. There is not much to report, but there are some changes which I think is fundamental to announce. What has happened is that when we set the Kesh Foundation as the knowledge seekers, some 8-10 months ago, and with receiving the knowledge seekers here in the foundation and working around with them so closely and understanding some of the problem they have, and some of the problem is created primarily due to human life, and being involved so close with everything. I see, and I've discussed this with other people around, some fundamental changes. And today we announced these changes, but again, it takes time to implement them. One of the things which has been a major problem here in the center is bringing people from all over the world, separating them from their family and their lifestyle to learn and to add to the knowledge. And at the same time, we start running these knowledge seeker sessions. One of the problems which we have seen is exactly opposite to what the foundation is working for. Uniting and unifying and bringing everything close together that we can work without the pressure and pain and suffering. We announced initially a few months ago to set up the remote teaching, and we had a lot of people interested into be, what do you call it, remote students, knowledge seekers. And with trying to establish the institute here as a large scale university, these all are taking too much time to disperse the knowledge. So what we think is the most appropriate way to carry on, but teach in a specific way, but in a larger scale. What this means is that up to now we concentrated in trying to promote the production of materials and the reactors and the rest. We have ignored two parts of the technology. One is a lot of people who listen to the knowledge seekers and to these programs or other interviews have not been taught or haven't had a chance to read the book, or even they read the book to understand the book or what it means step by step. The theoretical part has been totally ignored on the assumption that most of the people who came here already read the books or had a good idea and a background to the science. What we're going to do is to expand on the theoretical side. Then the other side, which has been ignored by a large, and in past 3-4 weeks while we've been on holidays, I tried to cover more and more on it in general, is the health side. So We cannot ignore this because this is main part of the whole knowledge seekers that can affect daily life of people. On the other hand, we cannot stop the development of the reactors and the space technology and new developments and new science, what I call engineers and hand-on scientists or people who are interested to do their work and building systems and reactors. So what we have decided is that we increase the teaching time to 3 to 4 times a week. What means the knowledge seekers, instead of being on like every Thursday morning, we keep the Thursday morning for general teaching, but when the knowledge seekers are back here next week, we discuss it, we'll collectively what we agree and how we're going to do it. We start putting sessions 2 or 3 hours going into theoretical detail. So we do not discuss the reactors, we do not discuss the health side, we do not discuss materials. We go into nitty-gritty of the theory and the principle behind every step about the plasma, about the what do you call it, the way we see the creation of the universe. Everything which is in the book, we start from book 1, and we don't stick to book 1. We try to go across the 3 books to keep everyone's interest, what do you call it, be fed, and that we can support them. So we start releasing a lot of papers, and we start teaching. So in so many ways to do this, we need to support people to be full-time for the foundation, to work within that frame. People like Rick needs to be employed full-time by the foundation. That he has the facility and the capability to do it. We have to change the time zones. We can't be always in the time which suits us and it's too late for the others to join in or to be this the time they work. So we have to create a time scale, announce it in advance. This day, this hour will be the theoretical. So we span the whole 24 hours that we can have interaction from all the communities around the world. On the other hand, we have to be able to answer directly, which means people can send questions in and we try to answer the questions in detail, scientifically, and then if there are theoretical physicists and mathematicians who can put it into mathematical data, then we should be able to support it with their work. We changed the condition of just the Keshe Foundation Space Institute to be like a spokesman and explain things once a week to a full-time session. We transfer direct knowledge to anyone, anywhere around the world. So from hopefully next week when knowledge seekers are here, it will take us step by step to create this and put it in order. We will not run, and I've asked our people here to support us to be able to do this fully, is that we will run live sessions, which means you will be with us here. All the cameras will be open, the security will be set up for that purpose. So it's not just a voice. You can interact, you can see the board, you can see the screen, and we follow the teaching totally from now on directly in a different capacity, in a very large scale. So from 3 hours knowledge seekers Thursday morning, we become more or less 4 or 5 days a week teaching, but the teaching in so many ways will pass on from here to the other knowledge seekers around the world who want to add, to show their test, to explain their theory. The whole concept, the whole principle is that we make the knowledge accessible worldwide to everyone at the same time. If there is a need, or people see for them there is a need to be here at the center, they want to come for a while to work or to help or to develop with us, you can come in. On the other hand, one of the main problems which the foundation has been facing for a long time is to support all the expenses and everything else which goes on. For this reason, we had to rethink and reorganize a lot of things with our people. For example, I stopped any Google adding on the Keshe Foundation websites totally. We are opening the website to that channel, that it generates funds that we can support teachings and development. We left the open donation closed. Now we directly seek donations for the foundation, that we can support scientists and universities and all our work. We changed the direction, the way we were teaching. You were prepared, hundreds of people, a large number, 1,000 people received emails who wanted to do like the medical course. If you put a medical system, and they were prepared to pay 1,000, 2,000 euro per year to be part of this remote teaching. We have put 25 sessions. This is the 25th session of the Knowledge Seekers, which has been literally a teaching program. In parts, we discuss other parts, but none of the Knowledge Seekers, none of the people who've been on the live stream, who've been on the Skype, who've downloaded, have ever gone and donated anything to the foundation for what the knowledge they received. So you have attended classes without paying for, as I call it. From now on, we request you to do so. If you go to a cinema, you pay 7-8 hours for an hour, 1.5 hour of movies. We teach now 3-4 hours a week. You don't go to the donation and just pay the 5 minimum. You value how much your 3 hours, 4 hours worth to pay, to be entertained, as I call it. So from now on, before you come on the Skype, make your payment for the lesson you receive. And if you think you received good enough and the knowledge is what you wanted, go back and donate more. From now on, we take the foundation to the core of the people who use the foundation. This way we can support. This is what I've supported the foundation for years through different ways and means. Even the way the people came to us and asked or requested or came to receive help through the health section, we got accused of scamming and that they donate money for the process they use to the foundation. These things all gonna stop. So from now on, you come on the Knowledge Seekers, you go to a cinema, you pay 5 or 7 euros for an hour of entertainment. We give you knowledge, and the knowledge worth a lot of money to you. You value your life, and if you come to take it free, then as we said before, it goes back to the judgment of your soul. Those who think they can come and take, and they've taken 25 sessions or 30 odd sessions with other knowledge seekers, and they say they want to become a student, you've received enough knowledge. Value your life, and accordingly to the people who give you the knowledge, contribute towards it, that we can help the others. There have been a lot of people around telling us, we can give you millions, we can give you this, we can give you that, if you give us this, if you give us that. We have given you everything free, and in so many ways from now on, we still carry on doing it, but in a much stronger and a solid base. Because here I teach 2, 3, 4, or 5 knowledge seekers. And everything we do takes time, because here is practical, is hands-on. We make things, so things take time to make. Now, to receive the knowledge, on the other hand, theoretically, or discussion groups around the world directly online, this takes time, not to be in the lab, but to add knowledge, to increase the knowledge. We discussed that some people, we need a Wikipedia that we can add to the knowledge. As you know, I have written some 400 or 500 papers. Some finished, some in the process of finishing, some never released. From now on, the time I don't spend with the knowledge seekers because they are matured enough to start developing the systems. They'll see less and less of me in the lab. They have to take charge. They become the teachers. As I told them, they had their 6 months of learning. From now on, I'll be a support to the knowledge seekers. And at the same time, I spend more time. Knowledge seekers instead of the lab, they can come and sit around the table and be in the teaching room while we're teaching internationally, or they can spend their time to support you. We become the teaching center group, 4 or 5 of us worldwide. And we try to what they call recruit as many people at the highest caliber to be able to support the whole foundation by their teachings. The people who understood the work of the foundation and can connect the new knowledge with the old knowledge for people too. People who also want to start doing work for the children. We put children classes live online. Devana is working very hard trying to do this. To write books and then get it translated is very difficult. Writing and paper has been the work of the past time. Now, most of the schools at least have one computer somewhere around the world. Even the ones that don't have, we should be able to support somehow. So, people like Devana who want to start teaching children can we give them time, support them here in 2-3 channels to start teaching live. We put children physics programs directly online with Kavanaugh, with Elia and other people. We use the time they have, not the time we want them. If, for example, Dr. Elia wants to a time so many hours a week to run a discussion group on the health, we run a program directly according to her time that it suits others. We announce it in advance. So we're going international. We're going in teaching in mass, and we started from next week. When the knowledge seekers are here on Monday, Tuesday, we set a program. We'll talk to Rick and Vince and others. And we set up the basic of the teaching of the Keshe Foundation Institute internationally. How you support us is how long we can be here. I have supported the foundation over 10 years, and as we see today, a lot of organizations around the world are trying to stop us. There's a lot which is happening in the background we never tell, because they say this is, what do you call it, moaning and groaning. But the threat to the foundation is very deep, is beyond your even imagination. So the whole situation goes back in teaching direct. So from next week and the following week after, we try to lead up to 4 or 5 sessions a week. And people who work around the foundation, put their time, will be paid by the foundation as we used to pay the people who work for us as a donation. People who work for the foundation and you saw them full time, and people thought they are working for charity. They were paid fully and quite well by the foundation according to what they wanted, the way they wanted. Since I came to Italy, this was stopped. Now we start back again because people put their time at the moment, the bills, the electricity and the food has to be paid for. And from now on, I will ask every time we start a knowledge seekers or we start any of the teachings, have you paid for your donation? Not to be assertive, but to show there are expenses to cover, there are people who are in the background working, and at the same time there is a lot to be done in the foundation. So this is important. This is absolutely important that from today we change the course, that you don't need to come all the way to Italy to be here to learn. We come to you. Today, for the first time, I opened the channels on the secure channels, and we made a small recording about the torch, about the nano layers and the globe. This should not be at the scale we are today, but because of the way they pushed us, we try to become more and more secure. Now we turn the table. We go so open that they cannot be stopped. We install cameras in the teaching center, live. You can 24 hours a day. If we do something, you watch. We teach. All the teachings will not be blank teaching like as it is the cameras shot from the center. All these need finances. Stop for 2 seconds. You go on your PayPal, pay through PayPal, pay directly to the foundation in Holland. Even €5, €10, $10, $5. Every time you pay through PayPal, we use 5%, 8%, 10% in some cases. Because when you pay in dollars, they exchange at their own rate. So your $10, we receive most probably around about $8, $8.50. So we lose 10 or 15%. Pay to Keshe Foundation in Holland. Then details are on the bank list. If you come every session, how much do you pay to a 2-hour conference, 3-hour conference? We give you a conference every day on the subject, every week on the subject you are specialized in. Be judge of your own. I receive, I pay. You don't need to spend 20,000 to come here and another 20,000 to spend 1 year rent and other expenses to live in Italy, and then your family to suffer with you not being there, your income being damaged. We teach you correctly from here from next week, and you split that 40,000 over the weeks or whatever and pay to the foundation. You support us, we support you. At the same time, we are here for humanity. We are not here for a few people who come on the website. I look at the live stream, 4 million something minutes. I went to the European Space Agency with their large number of people who know them. They're at about 18 million. So a large number of people come and go, whatever it is, translated to different languages. We need to change, and we change the table from today. We teach directly into direct internationally. You're a doctor, you're a specialist, you want to come here to discuss it, come here and teach us from here. For a week, 2 weeks, be the guest. You pay for your time and services, and what you pay, donate to the foundation to support your work, we'll do it. We come to the point of, qualifying the technologies. So we start qualifying, we start putting things out. It's the responsibility of the companies to work the way we are. We have a huge problem at the moment sitting with the Japanese people who want to develop the technology. The problem sits is that they say we have to donate for what is in public. I said we gave it to you free. But we have no control. I told them you have a control to the market you can sell. This is not fitting into the Japanese structure of thinking, apparently. You have to pay for patents. You have to pay for exclusivity right. There are no exclusive. The exclusive right is a human race. So the other hand is that to pressurize the foundation, the Belgian police has put the document which we released internationally to show they wanted me for questioning into the Interpol, that no government will issue a visa for me for teaching. And because on it they put a scam. The government says, the ministry says, he's a scammer, how can we give him a visa? So we open the boundaries. We don't fight. The time of fighting for us to defend the foundation is finished. Now we teach, is your problem to defend what you know and what you can do. We go into details of every aspect of the medical, theoretically, and then we show you how to make the reactors for health. You want the foundation at the center in Italy to build the reactors. They depend on our specialty. You pay our rate. You donate to our foundation according to our rate. You want to go to the doctor who's in Japan or in China or in the United States who uses our technology, you pay to them their rate. And then they donate part of their work to the foundation. And then we support the others. So from next week, the health program will be open internationally. But at the same time, we have to secure no one off the street comes and just sees something and does, and they say, this is what I did with the Keshe Foundation. They told me, and this is what's happened. So we try to streamline only to medical people. This is the only part which we're going to control. We try to control as much as possible. There are people who work for pharmaceuticals and they come in as the doctors, as the health workers, their CV reads correct, but they are working in the background to destroy the foundation and our work to see what they can do. These people will pay through their souls. I'm not going to do searching, doing this and that. You come, you damage, you get damaged yourself. So we are not going to look into who does, what it does, how we're going to damage. We're going to open the books. People like Armin are spending time here. They're leaving their family to develop the physical part. John come here, leaving his family. I know how much pressure is on there to develop part of the technology. You give our technology to security forces, to air forces, to space technology forces, to pharmaceuticals. At the end, thinking you're working behind the back for others, you promote our work. Because if they didn't need it, they wouldn't send you here or send you other people around or bring on the Skypes to see what we do that they can expand their knowledge. So if they want to eavesdrop, we open the doors, they can hear our shouting. I'm going to change the process of the papers I release. In past 6 months, we tried to release papers which fitted into the work we were doing or what we were adding to. From now on, I release papers on the Keshe Foundation website, unfinished, which means I put a figure, like figure 1, the paper for nano papers. I put a figure 1 empty space. You read the paper, you donate to the paper, you read it, and you think this is the image which should be there. You provide us with a picture, which you think it can be, like a nanolayer connection. When you read the papers, your own knowledge, your own understanding, you send it back to us, and we put that picture in the empty space. So the pictures comes in the language of the people, not in the language where it fits us only. So all the papers from now on will be put on, and you can add to it. We add overall, over time, whatever is correct or added knowledge to it. This is how we change our Wikipedia, but paper by paper. Then anybody can use it from the center. So we can this way release a large number of papers, but at the same time add to knowledge. Maybe we put the seed and you expand on the knowledge the way you understand it. So the papers are going to increase rapidly. We keep it in PDF file, but you read it and you say, this picture needs to be done. As all of you know, I'm not an Englishman, as they say. I write in English, but my own version of English is not even English, not Farsi. It's the way I write through the understanding of my soul and understanding of what I have to pass the message on. It does not make sense a lot in English reading it, but if you read it in the sense I've written it, then it makes sense. We tried to get the books edited, but it came what people wanted to write, not what I was writing. We had to reject 2 books, 3 books like this. But then if it's your way, you push people the way you want them to think. It has to be the way I've written it. If it's a little word changing to is to R, we don't mind. So if you find papers released and it's not to the English language you're used to, this is the English language of us, the way we understand it, the way I write it. The grammar is irrelevant. The spelling to me is irrelevant, but in a way it has to be correct. So you correct it. The Keshe Foundation, for nearly 6 months plus, because of the hacking and all the problem we had on the website, I have not participated in the forum. From next week, forum will be used to its full value. To its full value. I don't spend time answering everything in detail, but we start explaining things, even if it means by leaving recordings behind. It's the job of the people to convert these to scripts and write it. Doctors who want to work with us, send your emails in. Doctors who want to be part of the technology, send your information in. Doesn't matter what language you speak or you write. There are Google translators, there are word translators. Somehow we communicate. We need your knowledge to help the humanity. There is a situation at the moment that we have developed a technology to literally cascade the reactors in Fukushima, which means now they're spending millions to billions to put cooling system, ice walls around the reactor. I have developed a system. The system we will show is in the lab. It's taken me 3 months theoretically to look at it, to design it, and it took me 2 days to build, to show its work. What this means? It means we can contain the reactor in a molten condition inside Fukushima without moving a single material, without any radiation leak, without any hazards to the environment. I cannot go to Fukushima, I cannot go to Japan because of what the Belgian government has put pressure and put a false paper in the hand of Interpol. So all of us are suffering because of the criminality of a few. So Fukushima has to be corrected. We have the material. All the tests we've done. Now I can open emails, even from the Japanese, that the tests we've done is correct for the contamination of the land. The Nuclear Center of Italy has done a test to spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of euros in past few months testing what we did in Fukushima. The report confirms, official report of Italian Nuclear Center, which is done for Keshe Foundation in collaboration with the Italian government, which is in my possession, confirms the reduction of the nuclear radiation in the material. So what we developed is 100% correct. Now they're asking for more materials which nobody knew up to now is contaminating. We knew as nuclear physicists, but TEPCO never announced it. Now I have a list of the material contamination in Japan because they saw they'd done a test in past 4 weeks. They checked the data which we produced with Yukoko, and now they say, okay, you can do this, can you do others with the same material? But I cannot go to Japan because of the Belgian government putting a paper with the Interpol. We have taken actions, they will not be able to touch us. There are governments and officials who understand what we are doing and they stop this criminality. So all of us around the world are paying again for criminal activities of a few. But now we teach live online to TEPCO scientists what to do. So there is no barrier. I teach from next week directly into the scientists in the universities in Africa how to make material. They stopped us getting the material to Sierra Leone. From next week, I teach directly in the universities, live, how they can protect themselves. So we teach directly online. And we could bring the teaching we started with Rick about 8 months ago. We just, teaching it slowly. Now it become the Knowledge Seekers 25th session. That's nearly 6 months. Now we go after 6 months into international teaching. Send your proposal. What do you think and how you think and what subject you want to talk about. We expand on it. We leave it in the hand of the experts who know. If it's medical, goes to Elia and other doctors who work with us. If it's to do with the nanomaterials, if it's to do with theoretical, we try to teach. There is a gap in teaching of the theory because a lot of people don't understand the theory. So I see that problem and we try to teach live on the board type thing here that you can understand it. So these are the changes which I'm going to put in from next week, and we have enough good support, solid support with the knowledge seekers and other supporters of the foundation around the world to do it. But it goes back to one principle. We need to be supported directly by the people who receive the knowledge. From now on, before you come on any sessions, make your donation to the foundation for the knowledge you receive. I've seen somebody making a comment about the why we did it. And the scientists in Fukushima understood exactly why we did it. They checked the data and it's correct, and it's what had to be done. It shows the lack of knowledge. There are people who make a lot of comments about the foundation. You don't even understand what is involved. When we released the first nano papers 2 years ago, they said, oh, this is the rust, you don't understand, you're a fake, blah, blah, blah. Now it's shown to be one of the most advanced materials man ever known. So we don't listen to rubbish. We have to work in one hand and united and start teaching. And this teaching, mass teaching, because we had enough time to teach the teachers. You have 4 or 5 gorgeous, knowledgeable, humble teachers sitting with the knowledge seekers here in the center. Now they start teaching. They start teaching in depth, but at the same time they need your support to learn how to teach and what to teach. And they got to teach in what they are interested, not what we want them to do. I spend time from next week coming to your houses, coming to your labs, coming into your garages, coming into your living rooms, to go through the reactors, to the papers you did, live with other people to learn. So we're bringing back the international community in a way that it suits the humanity. I've done this with Gert in the past 2 weeks. I went live to his house, he took me to the lab, he showed me his things, and we went through his reactors step by step. I do this with the other people in different aspects. Now we start teaching you how to make things, but we have to understand what you understand how to make things. So be prepared to open your labs, be prepared to be able to share the way we shared knowledge with you. But from today, we don't say if you don't contribute, you don't get the knowledge. We go back to the same point. You go to a swimming pool for 3 hours, you pay. You go to a fun park, how much do you pay? You go to cinema, how much do you pay? You go to ice cream parlor, how much to pay to be entertained for ice cream for 10 minutes? You use the facility of the health side of the foundation. We make a system for you which is 1 liter capacity. Go to a shop and buy 1 aspirin, or 1 paracetamol, or 1 cancer tablet, and fill the cup, and multiply the cost of 1 tablet to the amount of tablets you put in the cup. If you paid $1 for a cup, or for 1 headache tablet, when we can sort the technology with your fibromyalgia or other diseases, and you have 500 or 1,000 tablets in a cup to fill it up, then every time you use a cup, that's worth of the cup. You pay to the foundation what is within your limit as a donation. People say it's just a tablet, is $40 or 40 euros. But the time to develop, and half of that tablet is most probably chalk or whatever it is they use, just to put a few drops of the material which does the work inside it. Our knowledge worth the same and our technology worth the same, but from now on you value it and you pay for it through donation, that we can support our work and at the same time we can help the others to expand the knowledge. So this is important, that from today I will ask every time we start a session, how much your time worth, donate to the foundation for the time you spend. We had people who said they are prepared to spend €1,000 to pay €1,000 for being remote students. €1,000 for a year would have been 2 hours, or an hour and a half, or 2 hours a week. Now you had 4 hours for 25 years. Have you paid your €1,000 to the foundation? You had your teachings. Or again, it's a foundation, it's a free ride. It's a free ride for your physicality, but your soul has to pay somehow to find its balance. You have to be happy. The foundation, as a collective, as a humanity, has to be happy too, that it can contribute and develop. I receive a lot of emails. What about they are doing this? What do you call it? The ice bucket thing for ILS. Yes, I called Mr. Bassan, our ILS volunteer, because we speak on regular basis. We meet on regular basis. We know the problems and the advantages he had. I had a gorgeous talk with him. I know he listens to this program. He came here to the center to see us for the first time a few weeks ago. I called him yesterday, the day before. I said, Mr. Bassan, you've seen this ice bucket business. And because I received a lot of things on my emails and from Keshe Foundations that, you know, this ice bucket is raising a lot of money for ILS research. He said, Mr. Keshe, I'm ashamed. This is humiliating what they're doing. They are not doing this to help us. They are doing this to gain fame for a few seconds. I don't want to be involved in this. And in a way, I said to him, thank you for enlightening me. To a man who suffers, this ice bucket business done by head of Microsoft or by actresses, even though they do in a goodwill of giving some money they think can be used, is for their own, what do you call it, public screen. They raised millions, but check into it. No institution, no organization, no ILS research center has up to this minute have come to be able to even to reverse part of the ILS. And as we saw, their executives earning $400,000 a year. It's on the internet. As a small foundation, as a well-established research, we have a number of ILS and MS, like Mr. Bassan and others, who are still entangling with the disease. They are still living with the disease, but we slowed or stopped the progress, and mainly we reversed the progress. We have ILS people in different processes using different systems over the past 3, 4, or 5 years we developed. They expect to change, but they don't see that even keeping ILS or MS in its present condition in them is a great achievement. Nobody has frozen, let alone reversing. So we are correct, our research is correct. So these researchers doesn't need to go publicity that we do this and that and go ice bucket. Today you can raise money with the ice bucket. Most probably next year they come out with the boiling water. Who can stand the boiling water, donate more. And the next time, see who can jump off a cliff, higher cliff, you pay more. And like the guy who started the ice bucket business, he jumped it and he apparently died a couple of weeks ago by breaking his neck. What's the next gimmick? We don't rely on gimmicks. Research, time needed. So it is time for you lot who claim to be or want to be, get involved directly and not to be the ones who just make questions and just ridicule. It means nothing you have understood. And from now on, before you come on the knowledge seeker, go into, this is my time. I'm going, when you go to a cinema, you don't pay after you come out of the cinema. You pay before you go in. Judge your time and donate to the foundation for the cinema you're going to watch. Does not matter if I'm here or not. The most important thing is that you are there and you're sharing knowledge with each other freely, and you value each other's time. I start teaching in languages. I organize time as it comes with people like James in Hong Kong for the Chinese community. It's exclusively for them, that they can ask questions, they can, be answered in their way, that the translation can be done. We do the same thing with French. John has started with a radio channel. We do the same with the Spanish. One person should not become the spokesman of the Spanish. The whole Spanish group have to be the spokesman of the Spanish language. You don't understand? Put the questions to the moderator you choose, and then we answer it in the Spanish time. But at the same time, if the knowledge or the question is good enough that it's not repeated, we share it with the rest of the Keshe Foundations around the world. From next week, we become very active on the forum again. For 6 months, a year, I kept it away because of all the hacking and damages. We have sorted most of it out, and we go back on being on 6 months. We were busy with the knowledge seekers here. Now we have 4 beautiful teachers. They start teaching, but you have to support them. They have to learn how to teach. They will teach in the institute, but now they teach on the on your works. They already start teaching in their languages, but now we teach together here collectively or wherever we are around the world. The most important thing is to be able to spread the knowledge correctly and collectively and adding to. No one is the guru. No one is the chief teacher. We are all small bricks in a big wall of humanity. And the wall cannot be made by one brick. Whoever thinks he can do that is too arrogant. So the teaching, the program of the foundation from next week when the knowledge seekers are here, we consult with them, we consult with the rest of the foundations around the world, will be done according to timetable. We announce the timetable on the website. The website will be changed slightly in the coming days, that you can accommodate and put times in, so you can see what is the time, which channel, what you can listen to. We don't make a connection. If you don't pay, you cannot come in. But it's your decision on what you want to learn and what you want to put. So we teach, we learn. This is something which a lot of people never understood what happened in the last session in the workshop in number 24. What Vince showed us as a few wires and what he could achieve, and what he was given the knowledge to him freely via Pratt, and the two expanded on it. This shows that these guys have understood the ethos of the foundation, because they didn't go in the background doing this and that, see what does, we do something with it. They put the knowledge the way we do clearly on the table. If you understood the implication, the application of what they put on the workshop last week, Microsoft will worth change in the pocket with the knowledge which was put on the table last week by these two people, freely. Because of how they showed things today, I brought the camera, we opened our security for a short time beforehand with Rick and Vince to show you the torch, to show you the other material. and they will show it, because I cannot see when they release it. In time, in the next few minutes, they will release this video to you. There are a lot of people who wanted to see the torch. I've shown the torch. It's not to be able to give credibility. We could have done this years ago. It's just because, as I said, you take a step, we respond back to your step. Vince and Brad put their thing, what they thought, and I thought we add to it to show how correct they are. But they're still with what they showed in the first step of a ladder of 1,000 steps. The knowledge which was shown last week by Vince and Brad, Bert I should say, is so fundamental. It's so fundamental. It is so important if you understood what they showed. Even them themselves don't understand what they showed. Let me expand on this. They showed us a coated number of coated wires next to each other. Then they put aluminum foil. Then they put a nano layer, copper sheet behind it. And then they put a plastic to cover it. This is one cell, my friend. This is gorgeous. But why don't you look a step closer? Why don't you look in what you have in your hand? What you built is a battery, a capacitor, according to your schizophrenic between the matter and the plasma. I do the same thing in much simpler way. Maybe you can test it. Look at the structure. You have a nano layer of the wires. You have a conductor in between. And then you have another nano layer. Throw the conductor away. Throw the nano sheet away. And look at one of the 6 or 7 or 10 copper wires which you coated. A scratch on both sides of the same wire your nano layers off. Just that there is no connection. Put your nano wire on a table and just scratch one straight line from one end of the wire to the other, that there is no nano layer. Turn it 180 degrees and scratch it off again. So you have a nano layer, your copper wire, and nano layer. Isn't this simpler? Isn't it a cheaper way to do it? You create it, you put a number of nanomaterials next to each other as wires. You put an aluminum foil. That aluminum foil now is your copper wire internally. And the other nano layer is other nano layer, a nano sheet you made to be on the back of the aluminum foil is your nano layer on the other side of the wire. Now take clean either end of the wire and connect them together in series or parallel. How many voltages do you want? How much current do you want? Make a Western bridge, then you have your full circuit. AC, DC, you still get what you want. You take a step, I take you across the bridge. If you haven't taken the step, it means you haven't understood it. What's the use of me showing you the other side of the bridge? So by tonight, you should have capacitors or cell panels which can create 10, 20 kilowatt. Understand what you're doing. You too took the understanding to a new level or maturity. Now I show you an easier way. You made a nano layer. You connected so many of them next to each other, or putting them next to each other as nanowires. You put aluminum foil. You put a copper coated film. Nano layer. Nano, metal, nano. Take your wire. Separate two sides from each other, two nano layers, that they become two layers facing each other. The conductor is your copper wire in the middle. Cost zero. Connect it the correct way, you have your battery, you have your capacitor. Empty the copper wires and fill them with GaNs. You have your plasma reactors, the plasma batteries. You take a step, I take you across the bridge. If you haven't understood, what can I show the beauty on the other side? Put as many as wires you like next to each other, because they're all insulated gravitational magnetic field wise. So you connect them together. Look at the structure of the torch I've shown today. It's the same. So the knowledge is not that difficult. Is you have to be able to walk. You have to be able to stand, that I can get you walk and running. And a lot of you are reaching that point. Now, people like Vince and others who looked at this nanofoil and the separation, you don't need that plastic separation. Because if you can fix your copper wire in the right position, you can put your nano layers back to back, because they don't interfere. They are already insulated. This goes back to Elia. If you understood what these people have done, put this on a cancer cell. You will understand what we say, that we have found solution for most of the cancers, but in different way. Don't look at the physicality of it. We teach so direct and so simple that will change, force the changes, not by suggesting the changes. They say, you love me once, I love you 1,000. You take the first step in the correct way, I teach you the rest in one go. But you have to understand that then we can take it to the next step. I cannot throw you over the wall. Says that's a torch. What happens if the torch breaks? How are you going to fix it if you never understood it? Next week, when the knowledge seekers are here, we show live to TEPCO how to cascade the reactors directly in the core. You do not need this to spend billions in doing what they are doing. They took part of our teaching, part of the process, and now they say they have a solution for radioactive materials, but they cannot find a solution for cesium. Every gram of cesium in the reactors, in the tanks, in Fukushima, every gram of it, every gram of tritium in 100,000 liter tanks can be changed to a gram of gold. TEPCO, Japanese government, have not understood what assets they are sitting on. And they are running like crazy trying to find a solution. If you have 400,000 liters of water, and let's say if you have in the 400,000 kilogram of water in the tanks, 1 kilogram of cesium, you can do something. If you have 1 kilogram of tritium, you can do something else. But something else will give you 1 kilogram of gold. This is the lack of the knowledge of the scientists who don't understand. They are tanking gold and they don't understand it, they see it as a problem. TEPCO has not understood, they will not understand. And they're trying to negotiate a way to be able to put contaminated. They are trying to put gold in the water in the oceans and then cause more problem. Every single atom of tritium in these tanks can be changed to 1 atom of gold. They are in such a hurry, they didn't see what we showed in Fukushima. John knows what I'm talking about, because I said to him afterwards, I said, John, because John's goal is to be Archimedes, to change, to be able to make gold out of whatever. I explained to him scientifically how we made gold in Fukushima with Yukoko without anybody seeing it, because they never tested the material for gold. And you saw change in reduction of the radioactivity. Where does it go? Where did the cesium go? The radiation in cesium and the material which Yukoko, without knowing, told me on the line when we were testing, confirmed the production of a gold in her hand. Go back on the video of the Fukushima if you have, or if you don't have it, I asked Rick and the others to put it back on the line. I asked Yukoko a very simple question. Do you see anything like fatty or greasy on the top of the water? And she said yes. And in a simple way, just to, not to emphasize this is coming from the land, it could be in the land. Go back to your knowledge, your production of this GANs. In every tank you see a layer of fat. A lot of people write to me, is this the TEPCO using your technology? TEPCO is not using our technology. The companies who sit around the Keshe Foundation and the Japanese have to do it their way are using the knowledge we gave to absorb cesium. Now they have other materials which I've received that email. This can show other materials of radioactive material which is in the land and the water can be reduced to, because now TEPCO has confirmed to us through their organization that our technology shows the reduction in cesium. And if they repeat it twice, it'll be total loss. But where does this material go? This is not a magic show, it's a full scientific based knowledge. Most of this material has changed into atomic gold in that soil. So if TEPCO has over 1,000 tanks and they're spending billions to make freezers to contain it, boys, I would let that reactor create as much tritium as it likes, because every tritium created give me 1 atom of gold, if gold is the interest of the humanity. We have opened the knowledge of science of God to you lot, and you don't understand it. And because of your lack of understanding, you blame. Like your father, we have to forgive because you don't see. So if you're Japanese, a lot of Japanese people write to me, can we talk to TEPCO? Tell TEPCO, for every tritium you have, I give you 1 atom of gold. If in 400 ton there is, let's say by weight, 10 kilo of gold or tritium, even cesium, we give you 10 kilo of gold. So these people are sitting on gold and they want to dump it in the sea. And they want to spend billions and billions of dollars to keep it or destroy it, not to produce it. This is the inherent capabilities and abilities of nuclear materials in nuclear reactor processing. In the reprocessing plants, what do you think? They take only uranium out, give it back to you? The material has gone through the process of decay. The material in its progress, in its development of decay, when they take the fuel rod out, has produced gold. The world of science has not understood how profitable reprocessing is. Reprocessing is one of the most richest way to attain rare earth materials, and they don't let nobody know. This is one of the reasons the Iranian atomic program is getting halted, because Iran with its enrichment program can become a rare earth material production country, and that then there was a control in pricing. When materials decay, what do they decay to? And then because of the environment of the reactor, I'm a nuclear physicist. My specialty is reactor technology. I've been trained to understand every aspect of the reactor. My friends, when we take a fuel rod to clean, or they call it recycling or processing, we take out, we put in $1, we take out $1 million out. But we show this is a waste, because you don't have the knowledge to know what we do. Reprocessing, which is exclusively given to the British government, will create so much wealth that even the Bank of England doesn't have. Let me explain to you, if it's too hard for you to understand, another way of processing. This I have explained to the knowledge seekers. Maybe some of you have heard it. You lot buy and you see a sheep walking on the land. To you, it's just a sheep. To a farmer who's got the sheep, is the meat he has to sell.
Magnet.
And he shaves the wool on the back of the sheep. He sells the meat for peanuts and literally sells the wool for a scrap, because it gives him something extra to it. Now, depends where you live around the world. Where this little sheep has walked around the world. Kazakhstan, Siberia, New Zealand, England, Europe. Now, where does this sheep go during its lifetime? It doesn't have a bed, it doesn't have an air-conditioned mattress. It grazes, it eats, it sleeps on the land where it walks on. Sheep, by its nature, produces oil to keep itself waterproof. This oil is like your hair when you get greasy, it absorbs dirt. If you don't wash it, it becomes twisted and turned and anything sticks in it, and as it is. Now you have a wool walking around with a fat which comes out to keep yourself waterproof and absorbing all the dust on the ground where he sits, where he sleeps, where he goes. What is the ground made of which is walking on? Gold, rare earth materials, dust. Now the farmer sells this wool for peanuts to the wool merchant. The wool merchant makes 1,000 kilo of it, 10,000 kilo of it. They ship it into Portugal or India and not China. What do? You go to Harrods or you go to whatever brand name, you buy 100% wool and you pay so many $1,000s for your suit. Oh boy, you haven't understood a single thing yet. The suit you paid $1,000 or $2,000 worth nothing compared to the fat and the rare earth material which was in it. You got the waste. In the special factories, in the special conditions, when they boil the wool, the fat comes off, the rare earth material comes out, and now it gets processed. The oil is sold, the same thing as keeps the wool of the lamb waterproof, is sold at a very high price to makeup manufacturers and pharmaceuticals. We're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars per ton. Chinese buy wool about $5,000 to $7,000 a ton. Now, what happened to all the rare earth material which was stuck to the fat? Now it's worth millions. When you see the fat is brownish, greenish, stinking material. But when you separate it and you process that fat from the back of the wool which the farmer sold it for peanuts, you have gold, you have silver, you have titanium, you have every rarest earth materials inside it. So a ton which is bought at $1,500, let's say in Kazakhstan, and the farmer only receives $200 or $300 a ton, at the end of the process, worth millions. And no one has ever been told of this. How I know? Because I was the man who bought a wool in Kazakhstan and sold the gold at the end. That's why I can explain you the full process. The same thing goes with the processing of metals. When you go to a refinery, refining copper, when you boil these materials to refine it, in different processes they use different systems. When you go to steel manufacturers, when you boil the steel, when you do this processing, it's very much like when you cook meat. You go to a butcher, buy meat and put it in the boiling water. You see a fluff of dirt coming on top of the pan. The same thing happens in the steel industry, in the metal industry. The dirt comes to the top. For hundreds of years, it's scooped away and dumped. There are mountains of solid metals by most of these huge refineries. They sell the copper for $6,000 a ton, $8,000 a ton. That's worth nothing. That's absolutely peanut. Because the wealth is in the dirt which they put aside. What is in that dirt? All the rare earth materials. Because the copper came from inner sanctums of the planet. And in that process, everything is attached to it and everything is together. This process, what they do, they try to dig and cut and whatever with these blocks of dirt, which is sitting for 50, 60, 100 years near these refineries or near these plants, shipped to Belgium. The company called Uniminier, or the sister company in South Korea, they produce gold. They produce rare earth materials. They have developed a process. How do I know? I've been to the factory. When the Eastern Bloc opened up, we were part of the structure to see what we can salvage. So, why did Uniminier, in conjunction with the SCK of Belgium, in conjunction with the Belgium Atomic Energy, paid for looking into the Coca-Cola bottle $500,000? One of the contributors into this development and assessment of Coca-Cola bottle, $1 million, $2 million, whatever they spend, is Uniminier. So now the same process can be repeated in Fukushima, but in a plasmatic GaNs state of matter. It's the same thing as the wool on the back of the sheep. The guy is trying to get rid of it. Japanese are sitting on a gold mine of rare earth materials in the cesium tritium condition in the reactors and in Fukushima. In Belgian government blocking me to travel to imprison me here in Italy now that I'm here, governments have taken a step to overcome this. But now this brings back why you understand Belgians are so anxious to get their hands back on me. I know too much. And I know how much I know who involved in what. And they want to have a full technology. It's just this being a scam and blah blah. It's a way to get back, and the European governments have started opening their eyes. Very soon, none of the Belgian warrant arrests around the world will be accepted, because it's all tainted with criminality. We'll discuss this in the coming weeks. They are trying to dismantle the Keshe Foundation power cell, that they can get their hands on something to force. But other governments have already made steps to protect. We don't talk, we don't do anything, but in showing time when it comes. Why? Because it's not the process, it's understanding. Is understanding the whole structure. Go back. Start understanding why you put so many wires next to each other, why you put aluminum foil, why you put a copper coating. I explained to you, next time try to do a nano coating, GaNs and a nano coating. If you can empty these wires internally from the copper, now, because of the strength level of gravitational magnetic field, the weakest in your wire and the nano coating was the wire, because it's a matter gravitational magnetic field strength. Your nano coating is a higher level in the strength. Now this higher level, by removing the copper from inside the wire and putting the GaNs in, becomes the weaker part, and the GaNs become the strongest. Now you see the level of power you increase. In the papers I released about nanomaterials, you understand how come that the nano layers and the GaNs are such a superconductors. We explain everywhere that the nano layers are diamond structure, because this is what you can understand, or you could understand till a few weeks ago. Now that we explain why the nano layers are resistant, 20 megawatt or whatever we show, is because they are gravitational magnetic field levels in balance. You cannot go through when it's already balanced. It creates its own atmosphere you can't get. These layers of non-connection, in a very much in the electronics you call it a Coulomb barrier. This is the real physical Coulomb's barrier, that you see it but you don't understand it. You think it's a diamond structure. This is the problem. If you can twist the two wires which are nano-coated and get cross energy, you have managed to achieve fusion. That's what fusion is. Understand the structure. Understand what you are doing in respect to what the reality is, not in respect to the schizophrenic think of way which we had. When you cannot weld two nano layers together, it's because that's a Coulomb barrier. That's a real physical atmosphere. What you call atmosphere, in electronics you call it Coulomb barrier. There are magnetic fields which you cannot cross. And in a human term, you call it 20 mega ohm, 100 mega ohm. But when it becomes conductive, it's not because of the Coulomb barrier. It's because the gaps and the holes in point of gap can cross. If you can make it a slightly out of a different material tighter, you can go to 1,000, 10,000 mega ohms. It depends how much you make and how you can enter. If you come to Earth directly in vertical, you get burned out. You find an angle, you come in. And when you have so many barriers, so many spheres next to each other on the nano layer, somebody can find a way to penetrate. And that's why you see the sparks, that's why you see the heating. Look at the video which we released today with Vince. Rick, can you put it up that they can see it?
Yes, I'll try to get it up. Which part would you like now of the video?
Start from the beginning. If you start from the beginning and add into it, I try to remember what I showed you.
Okay, I've shown some pictures of the bottle, or sorry, of the torch or flashlight. You can start at that. That's, let me see, I don't think there's much before that. There's just setup pictures. And you start to show the flashlight. I can put that up now. Are you able to see the live stream or not?
No, I have no access to it. I have no access.
Okay. Well, I can describe, and you can tell me where you want me to put the video.
You see, we go. If you go to the session section, you've seen the. Tell me when you start. I try to
Okay,
remember what I showed.
I'm starting the video now, and I'm showing, as you see, the flashlight complete. You're just showing the end of it now, and
You see the light. When
yeah, the light's not
when
on
you
right now, but the torch is there. The flashlight is being shown. Yes.
yeah, when you see the light, when we open the torch, just don't look at the light. Don't get dazzled by the light. Don't get dazzled by what it is on the torch. Look at the structure of the nano layers. We go in detail when the knowledge seekers are here. We open it up that you can see how to set it up. The position, the way, the closeness you put these wires together, it dictates how much energy you absorb. Very much like what Vince showed us last time. He put the wires next to each other. When you wind it, it's very much like a winding of a coil. You are too busy looking at other things, you miss the nitty-gritties or the details. How much does this torch value to you? If you understand it, it's worth a lot. But you have to be able to manipulate the knowledge and manipulate the technology to achieve and get what you want. If you make a torch the way we done and the way we explained today, pay for the torch to the foundation as a donation. And then we can do more. This is the reason we are opening the doors to close a lot of things. There was a lot of credibility issue because we couldn't understand the patterns. My credibility is 100%. It's your lack of knowledge which is questionable. It's your knowledge you don't understand. If you see the torch, don't look for the light. The light is a byproduct. Look at the structure, the way the wires are set. Look at the structure, the way the wires are positioned. Look at the structure, the way the wires are connected. Understand the interaction between matter and nano and plasma, absorption of the plasma, absorption of the energy, absorption of gravitational magnetic fields as energy. Vince told us when he puts it next to skin or he holds it, the thing goes up to 3 volts. It cannot go if it's not there. Where does it come? It comes from the plasmatic. Actually, it comes from the direct touch with the aura of your body, which is rejected by the body. Because on the other side, in the air, you don't have it. When you come to a concentrated gravitational magnetic field, which is your skin, your what you call your aura, you get the energy released. It's the way when you bring them together, when the gravitational magnetic field of the sun hit gravitational magnetic field of the earth, you create heat and light. Now, the interaction of gravitational magnetic field of the nano layer with gravitational magnetic field of your body creates that heat and light, but because of the nano layers inside and the matter, you see that the voltage and current. Understand what you do in the real term of physics. Why, when Vince holds his capacitor or whatever in his hand, has no material, no energy as such. But when he attaches it to his body, he sees a high voltage. Nano layers are gravitational magnetic fields. Your body is gravitational magnetic fields. They interact. Daylight, energy. energy, battery charge 3 volts. You shouldn't have been surprised. You should have understood the principle. That's how, when you put nano layers together, connect them, put them on something which has energy to release or can create an environment that the energy is there. Go a step backwards. Change your skin to the surface of the planet. And then make your torch to be the herb. Closer to the earth, more interaction, higher energy, the stronger the herb. This is the difference. Just translate the knowledge and take it across one to another. The torch is the same. Then I show the globe and I show the layers. I said to you last workshop that what Vince showed us, we already have for years. You see the aluminum foil, you see the nano-coated wire sheet, the copper, and then you see the copper sheet. This is very much the layer of your skin. This is very much the way you can protect your systems in the high radiation from damage. Then I show the globe, the spherical globe, and how we can measure every step. Different current in the north, in the south, at the bottom or the top. If you look in the globe, there is some liquid. This is a pure water. It's a natural water. You don't see any sediments as you see with the GaNs materials, because these systems are set not to produce GaNs. Try to understand how you can set the structure not to produce GaNs even in a salt condition. Because these waters from the tap carry salt and minerals. We cannot stop that. This is important to understand and don't get puzzled and baffled by lights and energy. Understand energy, what it is. Translate the energy from current and voltage to movement and the strength difference. And then always work with gravitational magnetic field strength, movement, and not just with a flow of what you've been told by current or by electromagnetic field. Electromagnetic fields only exist in the matter level. When you go into plasma, you have to always consider both gravity and magnetic field, what we call magraphs. Then tightening the two wires together and getting 20 mega ohms is not a puzzle. It's understanding that you have two earth or two coulombs barrier which you cannot cross. There is no way you can cross this. And where you get the drop or the maximum ohm, mega ohm or whatever, is when there is a gap, not in the nanomaterials, in the gap between the two. Because nanomaterial position themselves. We'll try to show and explain this in all the teachings from now on when we go live from next week, that you get a full understanding of it. Is there any question?
Yeah, I'm quite sure we'll have some questions here.
I think
Go ahead, Vince.
if I can find my unmute button, I said I think that everybody's jaw is wide open and they can't talk. So Thank you, Mr. Kesh, for all that information. It was very fantastic to hear, and I'm glad that us sharing the knowledge that we can understand has brought forth more knowledge, and I see that as the correct way to go myself, and I've seen that for a long time. And we just had to wrap our heads around it and understand it. We okay now?
We lose you. We can't. Hello?
Do we miss part of the last of what Vince said? Is that what you're saying? Oh.
I haven't heard any of what Vince said. He just totally lost.
You didn't hear anything? Okay. Is my voice okay now?
No, just like a bit. Yes, you're okay now.
I'm okay now. Okay. I was just saying that to thank you for the more knowledge, and we have seen it in the plasma group that we needed to come forth with our own understanding in order to increase the knowledge. And I'd like to say thank you for helping us increase our knowledge. And I'm sure that we will move forward and incorporate this into our next understanding and just keep building.
Yeah, because now people wanted to see the torch. We're told there is a questionability on credibility. We have no question on credibility. There is a listener today, I'm sure he's online. He approached us for a specific reason, and we responded to his request. And this week I received an email from him, or through him, or because of him, that it justified a lot of things we've done in medical research. I asked the permission from them if I can release their email, and they said yes, but thinking in the high side, this creates a lot of problem for them if we release this. That how in 8 days using of the system, the lady can dance with her children with the MS, which she couldn't do. They know who they are, we protect their names, but in the knowledge of the science, doctors will work with us, understand how we do it, and we explain it. It's not very far from what you've done with your capacitor. For a mother to be able, with a MS, to dance again with her children is a lot of joy. But the knowledge is very, very simple. I spoke with Mr. Bassan a couple of days ago, before I spoke with him about this situation with ILS and the ice pocket. He picked the phone up and he was happy. I said, Mr. Bassan, you're happy? He says, yeah, I was laughing with my child. Something we were playing or whatever he was doing. And he was laughing. He said, I had a wonderful summer. I went to the beach every day and I enjoyed my children. And I was laughing with my son. I said, Mr. Bassan, the day we met, I said to you, give me one good reason that you want to live. That I am convinced you want to live for yourself and not because other people want you to live. And he said to me in the hotel where we met, I want to live for my children. And when he told me on the phone that he was laughing with his child and he was happy, I said, that's what we came in for. And that's why I accepted your case. For him to enjoy his children, and for children to have a father. We do not release names of the people who we succeed because Mr. Bassan has seen it. He receives so much pressure from everywhere that he does not want to be in the public life. people are cruel. And we respect this. That's why we don't release any more names or people. But people who try to take us into court to say we do illegal health, we don't do illegal health. We make a copy of the planet. And people are made of the planet and then respond to it. So, if you understood again the work of the capacitor you made, you'll understand how we have changed the life of a mother, the life of a father to be more with their children and enjoy their children. The people who want to put us away and stop the progress are the people who want to put the fathers in pain and mothers in wheelchairs and fathers in grave that the children can suffer. And they have no right to this. Those who claim that the foundation done this and that, we are researchers and we develop according to the research on the man's body, according to going to the space. So if it suits for you because you can hide and divert the tension of the joy of other people because it suits you to become a attention center or you make threats against others, we know what we've done, we know what we achieved, we know what we progress you have offered, that we learn the knowledge to do it. The email reads, in 8 days, within 8 days from the user system, I can dance with my children. No knowledge, no technology has managed to reverse MS in 8 days. All the money spent on MS and ILS is needed, research is needed to understand more. In a recent paper by ILS Association in America, who said they sponsor research, they say they see abnormality in the RNA in number of ILS cases. What is RNA? RNA is part of your conscious information part. This is exactly what we say. ILS comes from emotion, which sits within your RNA, not your DNA, which affects its work on the DNA, which shows deformation and paralysis. They are confirming what we do, but we do in practically we can reverse. The same thing is with the cancer. The same thing is with a lot of things that people don't understand, but they, because of their lack of understanding, they blame. There is something which I would like to explain in talking about this. Please, I see this a lot. And I see more and more of it. And we have noticed hugely this summer. Please, if you want to have healthy children, if you want to have a healthy future, stop the use of this zero sugar and diet sugar. I see a lot of zero drinks around. And I see a lot of this diet material around. People think we are not eating, we are having the sweetness of the fizzy drink, but we are not getting fat. Oh boy, you haven't understood what you're doing to yourself. You're setting the seed for cancer, you're setting the seed for a lot of abnormality in the coming time. You're setting the seed for diabetic, you're setting the seed for a lot of disorders. Understand the principle. What does it mean, Diet Coke, 1 calorie? What does it mean, zero sugar, but you still have a taste of sugar? These are worse than nuclear bombs sitting in the body of man the way it's going on. The manufacturers of these drinks, zero drinks and diet drinks, a lot of people say it's all this material, the sugar, false sugar they use have so much side effects. No, you have not understood what it does in the body. The problem is not the material so much, is the process of the work of the body of the man, which will set up the cancers of the future, pancreas problems of the future, digestion, abdominal cancer, bowel cancer, schizophrenic, and about Alzheimer's and Parkinson. Let me explain to you, understand the principle. Anybody uses Diet Coke, anybody uses the zero drinks, any Diet Fanta, anything diet, just don't mention the name. Understand what it does in the body. The concentration of a can of drink doesn't matter if it is gassed or not gassed. A drink which has no gas has the same amount of sugar as a drink which is gassed. So if you think I'm drinking a drink without the gas in it, I'm okay. The sugar content, because it has to taste exactly the same, is about 12 teaspoons of sugar per can. Because every sip you take has to taste exactly the same sweetness. Now, understand what happens in your body when you take a sip of cola. Any cola, no name. The minute it touches your tongue, the stomach, the brain evaluates the amount of energy it's going to receive. And accordingly, it works for it to absorb it, to store it, to use it. Now, you're playing the fool's game. I show it to you, but I don't give it to you. But you already have done the work. It's like you going to somewhere as a plumber and you do the whole plumbing, but you don't get paid. You show the body that you're putting 12 spoons of sugar in the body. The body works for it, makes accommodation because this is what it knows. That much sweetness has to have so much. What it can do with it. And there is nothing. You used diet. You used zero. You fool the body and you think you're going to stay healthy? All the organisms in your body, all the organs in your body, they're going to work on a base that from now on, whenever we achieve this thing, nothing is going to come. So they adjust themselves. You have brain, you have played with the energy with you to your brain. You have played with the energy to your intestine. You have played havoc with your limbs. You have disturbed the total nervous system of your intestine because it does not react anymore.
Mr. Keshe,
Because,
can I ask a
yes.
question regarding this? From Lixin Wang, she's interested in the structure of the cortex or outer parts of the bones. And why do they have such strong mechanical properties, and how can we make bones? I'm thinking that
Rick, you,
okay, let me try that
Rick,
again.
you're breaking up.
Yeah. Let me try that again. I'll try to be a little more clear. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Lixin Wang had a question regarding the human bones and the structure of the bones, of the cortex or outer parts of the bones. Why do they have such strong mechanical properties, and how can we make bones? I'm wondering, in context to what you're just saying, how would the bones be affected by the conditions that you were just describing, how would it change the structure of the bones to be taking in these drinks, for example, that are zero drinks
Yeah,
and so on?
because you don't take anything. You don't take anything. This is the problem. You don't take anything.
So what would
Your body
happen?
expects it, but it's not there.
And
what it happens, it changes the structure of the lymph. What happens is that over time, the neurosystem of intestines get affected. You know, it's just like how can I describe it? It's like a magic show. It's like, you know, you play with two, you play lottery and you get nothing, and you keep on paying, and then you give up because you never win. The stomach waits for the energy to come in and it doesn't come. The people with the schizophrenic, if you observe them, they drink a lot of sweet drinks. They can consume up to 8 to 10 cans of cola a day when both or number of characters are active, because they need energy, and that energy from cola goes directly to the brain. If you have observed people with schizophrenic, physically might not be active, but because there are 2 or 3 what you call it, part of the brain are working continuously because they are communicating with each other, they are doing their work internally for each other. They consume huge amount of real. You don't find anyone with a schizophrenic consuming Diet Coke or Zero Coke. Doesn't matter what brand, because that doesn't give them the energy for them to operate. If you be able to provide energy, they are very calm people because they have, if you can give them, they drink a lot of high sugar concentrated coffees and teas and drinks or chocolates. When you don't provide it and the body is expecting it because you gave the information, is coming in, you swallowed it, and there's nothing there, thymus starts reassessing its radiation field. Thyroid glands will assess their work according to thyroid, because this thing is nothing, so we are not working on it. The gland in front of your forehead, which is your neurosystem assessment, will not be trusted, because this is the one which absorbed, informed. There is a lot of sugar coming in and nothing has come in. By taking these diets or zero drinks, you create a huge, huge problem internally for your own body not trusting its own work. And I see a lot of children zero drink everywhere. My God, is zero life. Because your perception, your eyes, is the last part which the brain trusts. But because of your perception, your forehead, which informs directly your emotion part, has confirmed with the eye to your emotional part, there's a lot of sugar coming in. But the thymus, pancreas, parotid glands, the glands on your kidney, report back to the brain, you're not receiving anything, somebody's lying here. So they all adjust each other. And then you don't get diet drinks all the time. You don't get zero drinks all the time. You have a drink without the gas in it, which is not zero, with the same concentration of the taste. The body ignores it. What's going to happen? The acidity, the enzymes in your stomach are not ready and it arrives in there. The digestion problem, the cancers of the future are set with these diet drinks, and people don't understand it. The chemicals are nothing compared to what is played with the internal organs. In my house, in my life, these things are banned. Not because I ban them, I explain to my children, I explain to my family what it does, and they understand. If you think, if you don't want to get fat and you want to have a cola, but in moderation. Allow the body to absorb the energy. If you have a Coca-Cola, don't eat with a food which is a high salt content. The cola will not be, the energy will be used for what is needed to be used. Understand what you're doing inside your body. And then the same thing goes with the lamps. You have the lamps when you have these diet drinks, which operate slightly differently, and then the size differs, and then the operation of the absorption of lymph as a bone marrow changes too. Chemicals do not cross the wall of the stomach. The energy of the chemicals crosses the wall of the stomach. If you eat a gram of gold and it gets digested in your body, it doesn't go, you don't carry a gram of gold in your body. You carry the plasmatic gravitational magnetic field of the gold where the body needs it to use it. Understand the process, understand the structure, understand what you are doing to yourself. Understand why cancers are specific to certain foods and certain cultures. Understand why ILS and MS can become hereditary, that you can pass it on. Because you deform the gene and the gene accepts it, and the RNA informs the physicality to show. This is the part of the problem that the world of medicine has never grasped. They keep on looking for DNA. DNA is exactly the same as the body of the man. It only functions and works on the instruction which is received from the RNA. The world of medicine should understand the RNA before DNA. Then through the RNA, they can change the DNA. They say chromosomes, they say DNA. There is something in that chain of DNA. Look in the RNA of that section, see what information is coming to create that change. You do not go paralyzed with ILS if the emotional part hasn't informed the physical part. The world of medicine and the scientific world is too involved in physicality, not in the origin of the thing where it comes from. In time, they understand their mistakes. They're opening their eyes into it. Change in DNA hardly happens because of materialistic condition. It comes because RNA, which is the information base, says a robot hand cannot move unless the program has come in to move. And that's exactly what it is. And that's what world of medicine doesn't understand. So, in this technology, we work with plasmatic gravitational magnetic field. Do we work with the DNA or do we work with RNA? Why our systems are effective in emotional, psychological problems? Because this technology touches the RNA, not the DNA. This is the first time I explain this. And for people who are in the world of health, medicine, pharmaceutical, they understand again, the game has changed. Because you are dealing with information carrier, gravitational magnetic field. That's why we can reach ILS people. That's why we can reach MS people. That's why we can reach Alzheimer's people. Because why do you get Alzheimer's? Because you want to be detached from the physicality. So you become forgetful. The memory is not there. The memory is there. There is no Alzheimer's. That nobody can remember anything. It's just that the life is so harsh on the emotional part that the emotional part detaches itself from physical part. And you call it Alzheimer's. I feed, I nourish the emotion through RNA. Physicality shows itself. They remember everything. They are very good. We are magicians. Start understanding how this technology works and on the basis it works. Don't now go back. You are supposed to produce so much energy because you drank the diet cola and it's not there. And the brain has programmed the emotional side, the way you breathe, to process something, and it doesn't receive it. What is it going to do? It's going to switch off. It's not going to trust next time. You'll find a lot of people who use these diet drinks in the long term become emotionally unstable people. Why? Because the brain, the emotional side, assumes it receives, it doesn't receive, so it doesn't trust itself, so the system starts working in reverse. You find people who like to be very slim, especially girls, escape to these drinks. Because emotionally they are already unstable, so this feeds into it. Anorexia, bulimia. These are all part of the same process. Why with bulimic? You look at the face. I walk on the street with my wife, say, look, that girl is bulimic and that girl is anorexic. Because the way they walk, the way their face is chipmunk chicks. You look at the girls who are very slim, look how the chick stands. What does a chipmunk do? When he gets food, he hides it under the chicks, you get the chubby chicks. What happens when somebody is bulimic? What do? Or anorexic? They go and they put a finger in their mouth, or they develop the technology in their brain to vomit the food they eat in the front, and they vomit it in the toilet 2 minutes later. Why you get the chipmunk chicks? Because what I hide, I have to show it. When you have a fatty chippy chicks, nobody assumes that you are sick, but in a way it's a hidden, hiding the truth. But your face shows it. The psychology behind it is very simple. It's very easy to solve the problem for anorexic and bulimic. We done it in the foundation, and it takes a few weeks. Because these people cannot vomit the energy which they received. They receive it plasmatic, gravitational, directly into their body, so they cannot vomit it out. So you give it time, you give the body the chance to process itself. We start teaching from next week how to make these systems to the doctors. Because if you do it the wrong way, you can create problems for yourself in different ways. Please keep children and yourselves away from anything with diet. The only reason you get fat is because you add salt to your food. Or psychologically, you have to be big to show authority. Because people are afraid of big things. But the only problem is some people don't have the height, they go fat in the other way. Something happened to us yesterday. I told you in past month and a half when knowledge seekers have been away, I've taken 3 or 4 days off, no more, because there's so much to do. And we were out with my wife and my child, and I noticed that there are cameramen in clothes in swimming area. Paparazzi from newspapers taking pictures. They noticed, we noticed them, so they moved on, and then they moved somewhere else. Because somebody where we were informed them somehow, whatever, that we are in that area. You cannot fool the body, because when you're consciously aware, you see them, and they walk in the swimming pool with a full camera bag and everything else. It's the same with your body. When you're conscious of your awareness of your area, your environment, you cannot be fooled. You cannot fool your body. So this guy moves in a position that he can take pictures from me and my family for whatever newspaper they work in. These things, because we work with a clear conscious, we are aware of a lot of things. Try to understand what I teach you, because this is a teaching of you for your family for generations, and try to teach your family with exact, your students, your knowledge seekers of the future, the process, not because you say so, because you can explain the process, you can understand the process. Try to realize what you do to yourself with the food you eat. Not just physically, the food has a direct effect on your emotion. And the emotion physically, according to what it receives, instructs the physicality. And then you get the outcome. There is something I read somebody put on the forum. Can you explain about the asthma and eczema? Asthma is a psychological disorder. When you cannot accept the energy which is in your emotion according to your lungs. The energy conversion in your lungs. So the lung has to adjust itself with the emotion. So the rate of absorption of the hydrogen energy into your lung has to change. You show it as asthma. All asthma, all asthmatic conditions are psychosomatic. But you have to understand the reason for the psychological motion that shows itself in the somatic side, which is the physical side of your body with not breathing. We had a case in Belgium. A child during the summer is kept outside as much as possible, and in the winter, the reverse. Because anytime he touched cold, he used to get blisters the size of 5 or 10 centimeters in diameter. They photographed it. There were all the pictures. Every time he jumped in the swimming pool, he couldn't go in summer to the swimming pool because the cold water would have increased the blisters. As an eczema. It took us 2 sessions to stop the process. Again with the asthma, all these asthma pumps. These, they relax the lung to change the condition of the conversion of the nitrogen for production of the hydrogen. Then you say you breathe. If you understand that the brain does not send the information, I don't receive enough energy, I receive too much energy, then you understand how you get asthma attacks. Caroline has written a paper, it's called My Pillow, My Life. We released this paper. This paper, as I said before, has been donated, is given as a donation to the South Manchester Hospital for asthmatic children. We're going to release this paper on the website. It's the first paper we released by Caroline. She worked on it for years, and I helped her to finalize the final bit, which shows how you can get rid of all your asthmas partially psychologically and then with the support of your physicality, and you walk away with never use up a single drop of a single asthma pump. And it works every case. If you cannot sort out the psychological pressure which has caused it, you'll find that you come back to it. Asthma is a psychosomatic which shows itself with the direct absorption of the energy from your lungs for the working of your emotional part. And when the emotional part is using too much, it asks for more energy from the lung. Lung cannot deliver it, so you're short of breath. You want more oxygen. You want more, what do you call it, air, to be able to receive that. And why do you get emotionally disturbed? This is what you expect of the community, the society, the environment you're in, and or you have to pretend something which you are not. So that pretends to pretend to show physically, you have to produce a lot of emotional energy to inform the physicality to do, and then the energy is not there. The fast energy production comes through the lung, so you show it as asthma. It took Caroline 10 years to research this out, and we gave it, as I said, in 2004 to the South Manchester Health Authorities. But this paper is going to be released in the coming days on the Foundation papers. It's called My Pillow, My Life. And then you find out, follow the procedure in any child who is asthmatic or has eczema. They will not show a single sign and you leave without any pumps. Pharmaceuticals won't like it, but this is the reality which works. 10 years ago plus, myself and 2 of our children, we used to use about 4 or 5 different type of asthma pumps, green, blue, yellow, gray, whatever color was in the system we were given. And all the family, grandparents, uncles, wherever the children were more of, schools where all had the full set of the asthma. If you are there, if you're not, if you don't have it, if anything happens. Today, we have to search if we can find the asthma pump in the house. This is unheard of. Past 10 years, we don't even see it. The same is with eczema. Why do you get eczema? because it shows I'm in pain. Look at it. I can show my pain. I'm scratched. I'm bleeding. I have a big sore piece on my in front of me. Physical manifestation of the pain emotionally inside in the psychological part. When you can feed it, when you can balance it, body doesn't need to show. You have a physical problem, you show it as a temperature because you ate the wrong food or you went with the infection. The emotional part shows in certain ways its work in its physical outer way. Understand the process, understand what you're doing. You'll find out a lot of people who use these diet drinks will become asthmatic, become eczema, become other bits. Because, as I explained in the past workshops, CH bond sugar, hydrogen, is the only process which the energy in a fast way is delivered to the blood system. And you starve it of it. It has to show. Why do you go out of breath? You get the asthma. You put your hand on your mouth, you suffocate yourself and you die, because through oxygen, through the air you breathe, you directly send energy to your emotional part. What happens when the emotional part needs energy and you can't give it in the lung? Suffocation, lack of air. It's the reverse of you. You put your hand on your mouth or somebody's mouth and you suffocate them, the emotional part dies, the person dies. Now the emotional part asks for the energy and you can't give it, so you have the same feeling of getting suffocated. I have an asthma attack. We have a case, Elia knows, that due to asthma attack, people go into coma. Why? Because the physicality cannot support the emotional part, the other part of the physical part shuts down, coma. You give a wrong information to the lymph does not receive what it needs. There is not enough of conversion in your thymus gland, and the information is wrongly balanced in your parathyroid glands and your thyroid glands. What do you expect? You change the environment, you get cancer. Drink as much as you like diet drinks and cola drinks and zero drinks, and then you'll see the consequences of the rapid increases in young age cancers. There is something I have to explain to you. We're trying to close down the Spaceship Institute website because of security reasons. It will happen in the next few days. But the webmasters try to bring it as a, it is an HMLT, whatever it is. And they will try to replace it somewhere else. So if you see the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute going down, we are organizing it ourselves within the next 24 or 48 hours. Don't inform the foundation, with the webmasters are working on it. Now, any questions?
There was a question on the live stream, and someone, it relates to what you were saying about the asthma, I think, but they asked the question before you began that. So he goes on to say, by nano-coating the inside of a length of tubing and then allowing air to pass through that tubing into your lungs, you could then cure any imbalance of your body and ultimately lead to perfect health.
Don't try.
Is that, yes, that's the advice that I would probably suggest. For several reasons, I suppose, like we shouldn't have the nanomaterials touching our lips and mouth and even fingers.
You can do, but you have to understand what the nanomaterial structure is. Even though you absorb a spectrum of the energies, but at the same time you have to, the cup of lives, we explain it when the knowledge seekers come. We teach you how to make the cup of life.
Can you make a straw of life? A tube of life?
Yes, we do it. I do it. The people who use the health system, they always get a cup with a straw on it. They all tell you. This is not something, but you have to understand.
It has to be done right, is what you're saying. It has to be done properly.
Yes. The people who use the Keshe Foundation, or they have used our systems, they always tell you, we provide a cup with a straw in it. They put a straw and they put the cup in this plastic cup in the reactor, in the containers and in the flasks, and they breathe in different zones, because different zones create different kind of plasmatic gravitational magnetic field in the air. You have to realize is not the air so much. We work on the nitrogen which absorb, attached to the moisture within the air, which once it touches the lips, it delivers the energy much faster.
Did you just say that was the nitrogen that carries the energy? I didn't quite understand that.
Yeah, the nitrogen attaches itself to the water, to the moisture. This is a very simple process, but that's the way. And then that nitrogen is exactly how the lung, I said that you increase the level, you change the level of nitrogen in the lung, you change the process. The air, and I'll explain this, is not the oxygen which they told us. Everything is nitrogen dependent. So the air you breathe in through our systems is what you work through the moisture that it delivers, what it needs to do. And it's really, it's very much as I explained before, the nitrogen, when she's rained on us by rain, we say rain brings life. But actually what rain does, it brings just nitrogen down from upper levels down. And it's because of its conversion ratio into other materials, it becomes the material for what we call a fertilizer. It's not the water. The nitrogen in conjunction with water, because of its ionization, makes easy the release of the energy of the hydrogen in the water. And then it gets absorbed the same as your lung does and your stomach does into the, what you call the protein of the plant, and the plant grows. Understand the process. Why rain is, why do you put fertilizer, which is nitrogen based, around your plants and then you water it? Because that nitrogen in conjunction speeds up the process of the the gravitational magnetic field release of the hydrogen in the water, and your plant grows. Because nitrogen creates a centralization for that hydrogen atom in the water. Understand the process. Then you understand it's very easy to work within the life of the creation. This doesn't apply to man. Our physicians in the future should understand the same process when we come and we are in touch and we live amongst other races in the universe. How energy is converted in their body, in their environment for their existence. You call it could be hydrogen on this planet, is magnesium in other universe, and most probably plutonium in another galaxy. It's all the same. How they receive energy. You have to work the system that they convert to a workable energy. And the level they work in. If they don't, if hydrogen is too weak for them, they can't absorb it, you have to go to the level they can absorb. They work on the energy level of, let's say, potassium or magnesium or plutonium. So you adjust your system. Once you understand the principle and the concept, the rest is easy. This goes back again, the same as the other question you put to me about the bone. When you have a chemotherapy, I support chemotherapy strongly because I understand the work of chemotherapy. Everybody knows, but I know how to now to diminish the side effect of it. Now let's look at what, let's say, Diet Coke does or what it does to the bone. A bone is a sieve. The energy which is supposed to come from the drink into your lymph does not arrive, because you think because you're drinking water, the cola, you create a lymph. Lymph will have enough energy that it can go whatever to do. But in fact, because of you, all these restricted diet, food and whatever, what happens? The lymph becomes so small, because lymph is like a balloon. You put energy in it, it expands. You don't put energy in it, it's small. That's what happened with chemotherapy. You put high energy levels into it, so you balloon up the lymph. And it cannot go through the holes of the bone to become bone marrow, to become your immune system, what you call it T4, B cells and T cells. Now you do the reverse. You don't give energy, so lymph is very small, very tiny. It goes through the bone very fast. And because of the high speed of going through, you change the position of your immune system. So you produce yourself a weaker, because it goes through. It's much narrower. It goes through the holes of the bone, through the sieve, much faster. Instead of going with friction, it swims through. And it's so much of it gets to the bone marrow, and the bone marrow has certain capacity. So it releases. You create a weak immune system. So with people which stick to the bone marrow with the diet Cokes and diet colas or whatever they drink, you set the scene for weak structures, weak immune system. Weak immune system, thymus doesn't work properly, to them breast cancer. My darling young girls, don't touch these poisons of your own body. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just you change the pattern of the immune system in the body. The smallest touch with the breast, the smallest internal infection, there is no support from the immune system to deliver the energy to sort the infection out. The infection becomes solid, then you call it a breast cancer at a young age. Understand the process, what you're doing to yourself. Put this out in public as much as you can and let them understand why. Just don't say Diet Coke create cancer. Let them understand why. You create a smaller lymph. The smaller lymph, weaker lymphs go through your bone marrow, does not support, they cannot strengthen your immune system, your T cells, your T4 and B cells, which you need to fight infections or whatever you need, and multiplication of the cells in your body. Then the smallest infection becomes cancer. One of the highest reasons to my research, high rate of breast cancers in the young girls, because of not only they're more sexual active physically, is because in their mothers and the olders, they used to have a decent process of food, even if they had internal injuries in the breast because of the sexual behavior, it used to heal itself. The immune system used to recover. But now, because they are literally, with these diet drinks, they are washing the lymph out into the bone marrow and washing the lymph out of the the bone marrow into the bloodstream, which has no strength. How do you expect to fight an infection? Understand the process. It's the same thing with the young people. They go on, they are sports people, and they go on a diet drink. The energy for the fabric of the muscles of the heart are not there. How can you run a marathon when you shoot yourself with a shotgun in both feet? When you say what happens with the bone, nothing happens with the bone structure. The bone structure still creates, vibrates, but it still receives a weaker structure, attachment of the calciums which they make your bone, brittle bone, and the rest of it can be the future of it. But these continuous use of fooling the body with the wrong material leads to these diseases, leads to. How do you expect to change a system when you don't put anything in the system and you fool it and you take all these parts away from it? There is, I think, one of the biggest, worse than Fukushima and worse than Hiroshima and worse than any other nuclear bomb ever made for man, is this diet food. People don't eat or drink diet food to stay slim. Cut the salt from your food content. You've done it. You don't need to do anything. But don't fool your system, because at the end of the day, body needs energy, needs immune system to protect you, and it's not there because you washed it out. You clean it out too fast. I tried to write a paper about this diet food, and I put it on a forum, on the papers, and give it to people. Just people drinking. Say, understand. If you understand, you know what you're doing to yourself. You are setting up, especially if older people, older age, and they think it's very fashionable to drink zero cola with their sons because he's a teenager. I'm going to be like him, like the way they fashion themselves wearing, teenager clothes when they're in their 50s, and the son is 18. They're trying to show I'm young like you. You'll find out where the stroke comes from, where all the internal problem comes from. The worst thing for older generation is to drink these diet-based, what they call sugar-free based, or with the taste of the sugar. Because if it's sugar-free and you drink it, this is it, okay, your body knows I'm drinking yellow, brownish, greenish color drink, and the body expects the amount of sugar which it receives in the information of the touch of the tongue. Go on the internet. Go and look at the structure of the tongue. What sensation comes from which part of the tongue? Sweet, sour, whatever. Salty. Why is it there? Why your mouth, your tongue is structured that way? Because it says, this is so much sugar coming, immediately gives instruction to the stomach, this is acidity, this is what we need to digest what's coming in. Now you send so much acidity it needs, but there is nothing coming in to digest, just water. How much of it do you think the body's going to take? And then you find out there's a problem, I'm not doing it anymore. Or I produce it this way to handle it this way from now on. So you set the set base for all the diseases which are to come. Next question.
Mr. Keshe,
Yes.
I put a short video on the Google Drive, and I put links in the plasma groups for people to see that new wire structure you talked about. I made one.
Yeah, I only see these things when I go on the live stream. Here we don't have the facility to see it. Hopefully when the knowledge seekers come back, we sort all these things out. But please, if you program your life, we still carry on with the Thursday workshops. But from next week, we're going to announce it on the forums and everywhere else. We're going to do a detailed study teaching. and we say what we're going to do in the next week or next session, that you can collect your answers or whatever you need to know to do, to be there and to do it. We try to bring some proper remote teaching. I'll start teaching in Africa within the next couple of weeks directly to the universities. This is what we planned before. Now it's needed for Ebola to do. If the Spanish or the Chinese group needs to, if they find your translators to do it, and you want to do sessions just for China or for Japan or whatever, for your own things, we still support you and we try to do it. You're on the right track, but understand the working of your wires, then you will see you can achieve a lot. Start putting these wires in very much spherical condition, and then you'll find out you achieve huge amount of energy through GaNs materials.
Okay, I'll try that.
Here the camera chat. No problem. We'll try to show these in the lab.
Speaking of spherical condition, part of the movie that we made with you before the live stream started, you show a spherical reactor. I'll show it on the live stream here, at least briefly, with wires connected, many wires. I think you mentioned 37 wires are connected to the inside of this
electrodes.
Sphere. Right?
Yeah, it's electrodes. Yeah.
So you have these electrodes that are placed inside the sphere, and they're at different orientations. Some of them face downwards, some of them face upwards. And you mentioned you could have different types of nanomaterial coverings on these electrodes so they could absorb different types of radiation, different types of frequencies, and so on. Can you explain a little more about that spherical reactor?
The reason I built this was primarily to test material condition in space. In space, we create the gravitational condition of the field we want for a specific reason. Or we open the plasma to reach to the level we need. The position and the angle of each electrode you see in this sphere is preset. The way I've done it is that I took 2 half spheres and I marked on the half spheres the position and the height that I'm going to put an electrode on. If you look into detail into the core, you see the electrodes are in different heights and they're slightly different twisted. So it's the orientation and the height, same as the different herbs absorb different energy. It's the same proposition. And if you look, some of the electrodes overlap each other. One is under the other one. So I determine how much energy I expect from this. And then each electrode is connected to its material and to its nano side to 2 points. On the motherboard in the background, you see in the red and white dots. Then I have sealed the 2 half spheres together as a umbilical cord out of put inside another core which is sealed, and out of that core outside connected to the motherboard, all these wires. Now I have a full control. I have a control, I know the height, if it's too high, too low. And then in the encapsulating it in the bigger sphere, I can dictate the environment of the sphere, of the electrodes. I want to put nitrogen in it. I see how the nitrogen interacts with the electrodes, with the nano layers. I want water, I put water. I want mixture of gases, I put mixture of gases. Then now I'm in charge, I'm in control of the controlled environment in respect to the electrodes. But because they are nano-plasmatic gravitational magnetic field based, they give you what you need. So I look for electrode 27 in respect to 28, which is next to it, and it sits on the top, which is energy absorbed from the upper levels of the atmosphere, from the light side, where we receive the light from the sun. I want to see the field which are absorbed from the ground level. I go to electrode number 2 or 3, which is at the bottom southern hemisphere, because there I directly absorb what is coming from the planet. And then this goes back to your wires which you are making, or what Vince showed us last time. You put it near the earth, you absorb more of the heavy, strong fields from the earth. You put it in the air, you receive hardly any. This is what happens with your electrodes. So that's what we say, during the nighttime you receive more radiation than the daytime, because the radiation from the sun suppresses the fields of the earth into the inner layers of the earth. And when it's not there, they come out, so you absorb more and they're much stronger. This is the same way. You absorb more. If you ever feel depressed, if you ever feel not good, you go to a park, you go and lie down on the grass. You go camping in the camp, in the tent. What happens? And you feel good. It's not so much that you went to the camping or you seen the site, okay, but by sleeping on the floor near the ground, when you go on the grass in the park and you fall asleep on the grass, try to fall asleep on the grass during the daylight and try to fall asleep on the grass during the evening and nighttime. You feel totally different. Even your organs will feel different. Because during the daytime, you absorb mainly what comes from the top. During the nighttime, you receive what you receive from the materials of the earth. If you could put yourself on a spit and turn you slowly, somewhere in half a ground, half nighttime, daytime, you'll find I have a full balance. If you can make a hammock which goes around like roasting a chicken, you'll find out how you feel.
Is that part of the idea of rotating the GANS reactors, is to attain that balance?
Yes. Of course. You concentrate the gravitational magnetic field. It's a concentration of it, how you bring the fields into one environment. It's important to be able to change the orientation. That with the change of orientation, you can change the condition of the effect of the plasma. If this is hard to understand, just go back on the structure of the planet Earth. A majority of the planets and the stars rotate on their axis straight. Just because of the little deviation, we have life on this planet and 4 seasons. It doesn't mean that you don't have life on the ones which go on their axis, they still have life. But because of that slight orientation, we have We absorb different rays of fields. We also create different, we release different radiation, and then you have the heating and the cooling and rotation of the fields around this planet. Try that with your reactors, and then you will see what you will see. You
Now,
will see the changes and the effects.
would that
Yes.
be in relation to the orientation of the axis in relation to, say, the magnetic fields of the Earth or the central gravity point of the Earth, like?
No,
or
no, 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 no.
other what would be orientating toward? What are we trying to line up with then?
You line up in the star formation. You
Oh,
line
okay,
up in respect to your
right.
other reactors.
But what
You
about
understand?
the reactors in respect to the environment? Like, does the Earth's magnetic field make a difference in the orientation of the reactor? In the
In
sense that,
some cases you can. In some cases you can.
okay,
If you can control the in the future we will show this. If you nano coat your reactors, even your central electrode, which is coated, you'll find out you can twist and turn and mix your gases in a different way. At the moment, we are in the preliminary stages of making these reactors. By changing the plasmatic magnetic field of your center core, what we nano-coated now is continuously the same, then you'll find out how you can change your plasma. You can turn your plasma inside out continuously by changing the gravitational magnetic field strength of the plasma of your inner core stick, what we put as a central column. If you go to the original central column in the patent, everybody looks at the magnets, but that is the concepts of nanomaterials. I saw originally a lot of people put a lot of magnets on top of this, but now that we've gone a step further, we can open the book. Now, maybe some of you who have read the patents, all 3, 4, or 5, or 6 of them, whatever you had time to read, start cross information and mixing, and then you'll achieve what we planned. Each patent carries a part of the key. I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, Kashyap, the key doesn't give it to us, he's a crook. The crookedness is in your ignorance of understanding. Now you have a tip. You want to find a key? Partially, this is part of the key. Start understanding of one patent and insert it in the other patent. And you find the answer. You have a nano patent. Take the nanotechnology patent, bring it into the core reactor patent, energy reactor, space reactor. Then you have partially the release of the material as a GANs, bring it into the patent, the design. Now you understand why all the patents have to be read together. Medical application has to be brought up on the patent of the health with the nanomaterials. Very much what our friend is doing. When Alan comes with the small reactors he's built, we can show the work of the technology in the medical application. Start now, read the patents again, but understand where you read what and bring it together. And then you see how everything, the mosaic is complete or getting completed. I can only teach you as much as you can understand. Otherwise, to you is all, what do you call it? Jumble jumble.
Yeah, I remember one thing you told me in the beginning workshops about how you could go into a wrecking yard and find the materials to create a reactor. And you also mentioned about using a cell phone to create the conditions and so on. And the knowledge seekers, myself included at that time, we had all kinds of theories and ideas, and for several months I would be pondering, what did he mean about this, and all the different ways these mechanical parts from cars could be used, and different ways to create the conditions and so on. But what you were actually referring to mostly was the creation of nanomaterials rather than, more of the material form of things like the element copper for wire and that kind of thing. It was for the wire, but it was to create the nanomaterials, not for the, copper windings and this kind of thing. So it took a long time to realize the power and potency of what you were talking about with the nanomaterials. And I guess just I want to say, thanks for persisting in that, because it would be easy to get off on the wrong trail if you didn't have the basic understanding underneath to know how to go with it. For example, you mentioned about the cell phone, for example, and I started thinking all these different frequencies and so on, and somehow these cell phones would interchange two cell phones held on either side of the reactor or something. But it was actually using the cell phone batteries to get the copper foil out, to nanocoat the copper foil and use that inside a reactor type setting or to create GANs and so on. And it was a totally different approach than the sort of linear approach that we were trying to apply to those hints. So it forced us to think in different categories, is what I'm trying to say. And that was very beneficial, because from that it opened up whole other worlds of possibilities. So thank you for all that in summation.
The thing is, I try to teach as your level of understanding increases. As they say, a professor teaches physics in the university with a guy who's already has a first degree or has a master for his research. And the same professor goes to school, to a nursery, and teaches a young child the same physics in different language. It's according to the understanding of the listener and the maturity. For me to put a torch, this is a torch, that's what's going to, wow, this is it. You could have done years ago. As I explained in a couple of private talks we had with the people around the foundation on the Skypes. We can give you everything, but you don't understand it, then become magicians. But as you do it yourselves, and you teach the others understand, so they don't need to believe, because they know they understand, they can make it themselves. It's the same thing. I propose to the, it's a very funny position, and I repeated to them once, and they just went over their heads. You know, these, the security forces in Belgium, the police force, that they have a problem or whatever, they're trying to carry out the orders they're given to do. I said to them, a lot of your colleagues have a lot of back pain and back problem because of they fall, they jump, they hit when they rest, or whatever that happens to them. I said, give them all to me and I'll give you healthy officers with no back problem. At that time, to them, that was just, now emphasizes he's a crook. But when the officers all go back on the force, and they can serve their services and they can serve their community, then how can they say that the technology doesn't work? This is how you don't uproot, but you put the facts on the table to learn. I don't go and fight. I don't go and fight a disease. I don't go and fight a condition. I work within the condition for the change to come. The whole thing is, even with all this mayhem, with whatever it is, we don't lose head. We stay calm, but we show how the system works. How can the technology be wrong when you can put all the police forces back on the beat, as they call it, with no back problem? Who are they trying to arrest? The man who helps them, the technology which helps them to live a healthy life? Then you don't need to fight. Look at the same thing in your body. You don't need to fight a cancer. You have to find out how cancer is created. What condition was created for the same lymph to liquidify and then to solidify. That's all it is. You go and put, let's say, 100, 200 spoons of sugar in a hot glass of water. It dissolves, it's not there. But when you put a string in it and you let it cool down, you create a condition. Out of nowhere, you get the solid sugar crystals attached to the rope. This is exactly what you do in your body. You create a condition and you put a string there, so it solidifies, you call it a cancer. Now, through the plasma reactors, understand how you can create a condition without the matter for these crystals to release themselves, and then there is no cancer, there is no sugar lump. Then you find out fighting and understanding is very much in understanding the principle. And with these workshops and what I get through the internet and other things, I have had a time to realize more and more in past few weeks that a lot of people, even though they read the book, they don't understand. I was talking to James. He said to me, the professors who are supposed to read the books to, what do you call it, to like peer review, whatever they have to do to write about the book, what they think, they have difficulties in understanding. So it's just trying, it came to me, if the professor has a problem translating, God help the normal man on the street. So we start teaching. All these recordings on the base, fundamental base, we start recording, it stays there, people can go from class 1 and start learning from basic. One of my assumptions was that people who are around the foundation of work, like other people, when they read the book and the patterns, they understand to do it, but apparently a lot of people cannot make the connection because they've been taught in a different way, and that's where the confusion comes. And that's why we started a new teaching process, to go into detail, that you don't think there is something wrong when I told you go to a scrapyard, you have everything. When you go to the scrapyard, you have a copper windings, you have the motors that you can start your reactors, and believe it or not, one of the first things you should take out of the scrapyard is the batteries which they put aside. Those batteries can give you a lot of energies in the future, and a lot of materials in the future. The process is to understand how to use it in gravitational magnetic fields than in a matter field. And if you have a matter, go back and convert it to what you need in the plasma field, and then you manipulate it. Understanding and working on the level of the plasma and then understanding the separation between the plasma at the matter level and a plasma as a free plasma and a plasma as a GANs. Up to now, I keep on telling you, you have to understand between the matter and the plasma or GANs. In fact, the matter itself is a plasma, but at a different strength. So now slowly you have to understand the difference between different strength of the plasma. Then you start playing the creation process. Then you understand you have a plasma which is invisible as a plasma. You have to understand that you can change the plasma condition to be visible, but it's still plasma, you call it a GANs. You can still have the same plasma, but in a different formation, you call it nanolayer. But then you can go to another level of the same plasma in a different strength in a matter tangible way. And then in the future, you have to understand the 4 states exist in every strength level in the universe. Then your headache just started. Then, as I said, we start creating the box in the lab where we create the environment for different strengths for you to see different creation of God. You have to understand what it is, the physics you have. You created a plasma. Now you change the environment of the plasma slightly. You make visible the plasma, you call it a GANs. You put the GANs in order of the structure in respect to each other in a atmospheric condition process. You get the nano layers. And then the same plasma, you change it in the structural strength, you get the matter. And then go into different line of outer strength levels. If, for example, the copper is, let's say, 10 and the gold is 50, you can have a gold in 500 too, but the other one is at 100. So you are the same material in different spectrum. Now, as you learn more, we start teaching you in how, then you understand one of the biggest hypocrisies which every night I look at in the sky and I say how man has accepted so much rubbish, is that it's taken 100,000 light years for the light of that star to get to here. The light of that star has taken him instantly. The minute you see it, it's been released by the star. Not 100,000 light years. Because the energy which is transferred across, it comes at the field strength of the energy of your eye, which carries the full spectrum as the plasma of that sun. It's instantaneous. How they come up with this rubbish and it's been accepted, and every day it takes 200,000 light years to get to that star, or for the light from that star, because you measure it in the matter level, and that's what it gives you. If you measure it as the strength of the transition which is come from matter when it's slowed down to matter level, then it's instantaneous. Yes, it'll take electronic, photon, whatever you call it, as a matter level, so many years because of its speed and its resistance to get here. But the transition level of that plasma, which is equal to the transition of the plasma within the plasma of your amino acid, is instantaneous. What you see is what has actually happened there in that instant. And they say, oh, this star could have died billions of years ago. even if it's done, at the matter level you see it, not at the transition level. So all these hypocrisies is exactly what they used to say in 18th, 19th centuries. 19th century, when the car came out, if you go faster than 25 miles an hour, your eyes will pop out, your ears will blow out, your brain will come out of your nostrils. Then you understand how you can cross the length of galaxies and universes in instantaneous according to the energy field you create. But gravitational magnetic field on the plasma of the destination. This is a lot to learn, but in time this becomes a natural process. The way, as always, I see our children jumping into the computers like nothing, and we have a problem even finding where the camera is. In the future, our generations will do this normally. It's just that for us as a present race, we are schizophrenic. We're stuck between one and the other, and we accept the physicality so much, we don't like to leave the comfort zone. But in time, you will see you can produce a lot of things. You can extend and understand the knowledge. You can go from here to the moon as fast as you can go from here to Jupiter, as fast as you can go to other galaxies. Time zero factor travel is there.
Mr. Keshe, there was a question in the Facebook about that. Raphael Bahaya, he says, I would like him to explain about parallel universes mentioned in his book, The Origin of the Universe, and if there is a possibility to access these worlds.
Yes, the future generations will do, in a very rapid way. It's if you call it different universes, how can you access from one neutron to another? How can you go from one electron to another? It's the same process. You call it two different neutrons in the same nucleus, change it to universes. Each neutron, even it looks the same, internally it's not the same. But on the utter balance level, they reach the same level as what this environment allows it. So you call it parallel world. I don't call it parallel. I call it parallel. There are universes, not parallel. We have twins universes which came out of division of our universe has come out of, and our universe came out of the division of another universes. So it's a scale of them mass. So if you think you can find another Earth somewhere else with a twin of you running on it, you're dreaming. It doesn't exist. Because there's no possibility, zero chance possibility, that in another condition, the same thing, the same parents, the same grandparents, ate the same food, the same time, in the same place that led to your creation. Parallel world doesn't exist, but other universes exist in parallel with this universe, in line with this universe. So we have, and the way we had a problem to jump off, and it took us years to get understand how to fly like the birds. Now we have got the plasma reactors, so we can travel around. In a very near future, we understand the condition of the other universes we need to create to be attracted or rejected or achieve into being able to reach. It just needs time. Man doesn't understand. At the moment, we're cutting each other's head and we think we are in power. And we are still animals in the jungle. How do you want to go into the universe?
There is another similar question. I would like, from MacArthur Louison, I would like to know if gravity waves or electrogravics can be used for faster than light communication.
Speak to the Brazilians. They're active.
Okay.
The Brisbane. There is something which a lot of people don't know in the background, and a lot of criticism and discussion has come through Germany against the foundation. Is that what we call the Third Reich people are still looking for that elusive UFO system. And as they did not get it from us, they started through different divisions a lot of attacks on the foundation. But they have achieved certain amount of work in Brazil in zero communication system, which most of these people are pretty powerful at high levels connections, which they use in the Brazilian military. It's achievable. You go to the length and strength of the plasma gravitational magnetic field level at a given strength, and you replicate the same thing in the same places or different places, and because of they're of the same, they link up, and it's a zero communication, zero trouble, because you're on the same field strength. This, if it's very hard, I always say, has anybody measured the speed of the magnetic field of the solid magnet? Then you understand how fast you can go. Next question. Is there any other question? Can I ask you, please, try to, from next week, to go on the forum. If you are a medical person, you want to join the teaching on the medical side, we try to keep on the Skype only, that only people, medical people can come on, or we have to find live stream secure that only medical people can access through certain accesses we can give them, that normal people cannot access the what do you call it, the health application. There is a talk that we will most probably in the coming weeks, or maybe much faster, we start teaching defense military technology to different nations directly in the same way. These are important for what is about to come through, not human side of the military, but what we have to be ready for what is to come. So national governments have to be prepared and put in line that the nationals can be protected from what is about to happen for saving their nationals. So very soon we open direct teachings on the military defense, what do you call it, but to us it's a protection system for upper atmosphere. We put this in line with teaching directly to the military people. We will show it how it's done. We will show defense, full defense technology, full radiation detection and barring, the same as what's happening. As I said in Fukushima, now we developed it, it's going to be passed on. In a way, spending more, what do you call, defending the system as a totality for this planet. And this is the opportunity which, this is the method which only can be shared with the militaries at the highest level. And we start teaching, they can lock in one by one and learn how it's done, the way it's done, and how they can protect their citizens.
Mr. Keshe, in that regard, recently we've seen a couple of failures of rocket launches. One is with the U.S. military sent their latest craft up and it exploded. And also Elon Musk of SpaceX did a launch with his new rocket, and it also exploded. Both of them within a few days of each other. Now, some theories exist that there are powers that be beyond human that are not allowing things to move in and out of our atmosphere, essentially, at this point. It's sort of a no-fly zone for planet Earth. Is that true, or is that just a coincidence on this kind of thing, or what do you think?
You know how many rockets on the Brown tried to get the first rockets to reach England? Failure of this system is nothing to do. Would say, oh, the people from outside didn't want the Germans to get hold of the, what do you call it, U-bombs and the rest of it. These are just coincidental, but it makes a lot of good news stories to say they are connected. Not really. To me, it's the physical failure or not understanding.
It seems like
we have the same. Yeah.
The use of rockets and fire coming out of the back of these spaceships is a losing proposition, basically. It's not the way to go for the future. Perhaps these failures will produce a little more attention on the Keshe Foundation, your type of the MagRav type technology maybe will be more preferred.
Propulsion is part of the space technology, but slowly these people will change into plasma propulsion, but not the way they are following it. Plasma propulsion is a very, very effective way of creating gravitational magnetic fields and motion and physical movement, because when you create physicality, you have to move it, and plasma gravitational propulsion in the matter level in some cases is needed. Propulsion in the space technology is finished. Cleverly, if you look, it's very, very interesting. Since NASA realized this, NASA stopped investing in propulsion systems. They shelved the rockets. They shelved, what do you call it? The shuttle system. These are let other people spend on what we finish with. A lot of space people haven't realized it, like Richard Branson spending so much money in getting people after a few seconds, because the big boys in the space technology know the rocket time is finished for space technology. It's not that they are not investing in it because they don't see reason, but they still do some research around it. Always remember, in 2004, 2005, I was walking down the main street. I even remember exactly where I was. I was standing outside the hotel in front of Antwerp train station, just behind Diamond Bourse. I used to work in Diamond Bourse, people I used to know. And I was standing in front of this hotel, and I received a call from NASA boys. He said to me, Mr. Keshe, if we accept this, how many people in NASA we have to put out of the propulsion lab? But we know we have to do something with it. And it took them since 2004. Slowly they have shelved why do you think they are lending the launching pad and the launching room of the shuttle? They spend so much time and money to develop it. They just don't put it because they know it's finished. Let other people play. Now it'll be about a new game.
And they're using Russian rocket boosters because they're cheaper and easier to run. But they're not allowed to use them anymore because Elon Musk of SpaceX is making a lawsuit for the government, so they can't use, because they're not supposed to be using the spaceship boosters because they're in conflict with Russia, and they're actually there's a big problem now with the whole space program because they don't have the boosters and so on. It's they've kind of shot themselves in the foot, you might say.
No, but in a way, people at high levels in NASA, they know the propulsion is finished, but they cannot do it because there's so much research is done and the work they still need to do. The propulsion in the space technology, they are very busy with different kind of plasma as we done. They have access. They receive the key. Actually, you got to realize how much they know more or less the full. The Americans and the shared knowledge with the Canadians and the Belgians and the British, which was kept away from the others, was when they arrested me in the airport in Toronto. All the full design blueprint of the Iranian reactor, space reactor, was in my suitcase. They have downloaded all of it. So they knew how advanced the Iranian space technology is. And they knew that something has to come to an end.
Yeah, what came to an end in Canada is they ended the publishing of Iranian science articles and papers. If you're Iranian, you're no longer allowed to publish in Canada. So
no,
that's one response.
Can't be intelligent. Yeah, but the thing is, what I was trying to point out is that what you received as a USB stick information in May this year, the blueprints was in my suitcase when it was with me. They've downloaded. They even left the papers what they downloaded. We released it on the internet a few years ago. So they knew Iranian Space Agency spaceship program is very advanced, but they didn't know how advanced. And they know it's no use for rockets. There is no use for these kind of plasma technologies. So all we did, in a very polite way, we shared the knowledge with the rest of the government because only 4 of them had. When they kept me 11 days, it took them the 11 days to analyze the material because all their fingerprints, all the numbers on the tubes are there. I always show it to the knowledge seekers. Every time I pick up these samples which are with me, they've seen it. It's got a black marking numbers on it. The Canadians and the Americans and the Belgians, the only time they let me go was when they did all the analysis and they downloaded everything from every piece of my work. So I thought, well, should just 3 or 4 have it? Instead of sharing it with a few bandits, I shared it with the rest of the world. Now everybody has it. Now we start teaching it. And they knew that with the design, the reactor sitting there and with all the reverse technologies and understanding the papers, they are going through it like a fine tooth, seeing what they can do and what they have achieved. So there's no room. They think, oh, we let the Russians be happy they're launching the only rocket where they have the privilege. No, because they paid 10 billion to the Russians to do it in a different way. And now while they're busy with that, but they never thought the Russians received the key the same way. I met with the highest level Russian diplomats in Brussels, and I gave them the key personally. And don't forget, the Iranians have a very close connections with the Russians. So everybody knows the rocket propulsion is there, but they still have to carry on with what they were started years ago. They can't put people on the street. The model is finished. We are not producing this car anymore. You're unemployed. They're trying to divert some from one science to another. As you know, the black astronaut, the only black astronauts we've seen, he's the highest flight numbers he has with him. Now he's from South America. He's become responsible for the new propulsion plasma reactors. So this is a very nice guy. I put it this way, we know too much. We better don't talk. But now he's become responsible. I would have loved him to become part of the Keshe Foundation space and teaching program. But in time will happen. But
there are also
rockets going off is not a problem. Pardon?
There are also some folks that would love to see SpaceX and Elon Musk get behind the Keshe Foundation. He produces such nice, high-quality things, and he's totally different philosophy than the other NASA contractors and other people that are trying to do the space program and so on.
You see, there is a problem. We were not aware of this. We were wondering for some time in past few weeks and months, there is something change in a lot of approaches with the government and the Keshe Foundation. And what happened, as you know, we work closely with the Japanese now because we have the solution for Fukushima partially, and they went over the test we did in Fukushima. They went back to the test centers from the Japanese government, redid the tests, reevaluated the documents which Yukoko did in past 3-4 weeks, 2 months actually, and they confirmed that the technology is correct and is 100% correct, and they asked us now for more of. So the ministers with the direct instruction of the Prime Minister of Japan, this is not, when I put names out, you know how correct we are. They wanted to do a fast track to get me to Japan that we can sort out a solution. The first thing that came out in the security was there is a warrant for the arrest of Mr. Keshe, which is not a warrant, it's the same paper as we released. So they have a problem. Otherwise, we would be in Fukushima doing it. Now they're trying to find a way around it, that they can bypass the Interpol situation. I made it very easy for them, that we start teaching you live to the Japanese from next week how to do the work. I don't need to be there. So this is the barriers the government put to service their own problems, and we find a solution around it. At the moment, I put a call to Mr. Delanois 2 days ago, asking him, can you tell me why you have put this paper, which is a request for an interview, in the Interpol? This is illegal. Even at the bottom, it's so nice. It says there could be no lawyers present. If the officers of Interpol read that, they throw any application by the human rights from the Belgian police into the bin. So that is one of the problems now we have sitting with Tokyo. And it directly sits with the Minister of Energy, Minister of Research and Development, the Finance, Ministry of Finance, and the Office of the Prime Minister of Japan. How to get me to Tokyo by passing this stupid thing with the Belgians have put in their Klankborg. And by coincidence, Mr. Delanois is on holiday. So everybody knows we are highly tested. The technology is 100% correct. And if need be, we release the emails directly which comes through the ministry and the officials of the Tokyo, through the company organization we work with. The technology for Fukushima is 100% correct. The technology for health is 100% correct. We have developed systems which in the process we had to be done to understand the working on the man's body, but that is as any other research. If we, and as you know, they blocked us to get the material to Africa, Ebola, and some of you on this forum know how you're working in the background trying to accommodate it. But now, because we have direct access and these materials can be made on the ground, from next week I'm teaching directly in the university. You cannot block the transfer of knowledge and helping humanity. So that's why we changed the course. Now we teach every doctor. Every doctor should be able to help his patients or her patients on their level, but the problem is how to make the systems. This is what we start teaching live. We put cameras here, we show you piece by piece how we make the structure of the man in a cup. The mental part, the physical part of the brain, the interaction and how they are connected and how we connect it. The same thing will go with the lifts. I will push the speed of the teaching into a level which now the key for me was seeing what Vince shows last time. You're getting there, so I speed up. You have to understand faster, and with it teach the others, and record everything that the other doctors who are asleep tonight, they can watch it tomorrow. The same thing with the NASA scientists. They want to see it. We open the key. Yes, there is a key we didn't show. But that's the key to me, not the key to you. You might come with another solution. But read the patterns, read the books, and mix it, and you understand it how you do it.
And along that line, we're going to try to come up with sort of a synopsis of each of the workshops and a better filing system so that people can access different parts of the workshops quicker and easier to get the information they need and the things they want to discuss and so on. So we'll try to make the system a little easier, more functional that way for people that
we got
to research.
We got to teach everyone in their own level. I think teaching, to me, from what we see is about to happen and to come, is the health program. We have to come very fast, and at the same time we start teaching them defense technology to militaries without access by public. But I will teach the Iranian forces as much as the Americans, as much as the Russians, as much as the Chinese. So all the national forces will learn how to develop the same technology. It will not be wide screen. Some people can do whatever they can do. The programs, the way we'll come to some sort of arrangement with you, Rick, to do it. That what they call defense technology is extremely, at this moment, priority for what is about to come up soon, for all the nations to be ready to protect their citizens. Well, we got to organize it. We got to make a timetable, and once we record it, we send the links to the governments to listen and to watch and to take action. Any other question?
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hi, Mr. Kesh. I was wondering if you were aware of the craft that was built in the 1950s called the OTC X-1.
No.
Okay, so this is a craft that's very similar to yours. It has a lot of parallels, but it's constructed differently. What interests me is, I know you said they took the material when you were in the airport in Canada, but I believe they've had the technology for a lot longer. Yeah.
The technology has been with man 3 times.
Yes.
This is the 3rd time. Go back to the time of Egyptians. Go back to the time of pharaohs.
Do you
Whenever
know
the
much
man
about
doesn't
the
understand,
Vimanas?
we come back to teach more. But this time it seems that the humanity is ready.
Do you know much about the Vimanas?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
No. You're welcome.
I have one more
Is
question,
there any
Mr.
other
Kesh.
question?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you mentioned that box you're setting up in the lab to show the color of the moisture in the atmosphere in interaction with the fields. Some other races on other planets, I was talking yesterday, and they'll get some certain musical instruments, and from opposite ends they'll play the same notes, but because of the difference in their voices, they'll create a timbre between the magnetic waves and the notes, and it will create like a liquid light in the atmosphere, and it's like entertainment. Is that something similar that's going to happen there?
Stretch your imagination.
Okay.
Maybe it's
Voice is a
something that
habit of the man. Let me tell you something. You'll find out. Voice is a habit of lower level intellectual creatures.
But what about music and songs, say, as opposed to...
Music is all ours because this is the level we created the ears for. In a plasmatic magnetic field, you detect. Music is a physicality of the ears. You feel the emotions. You feel the happiness through the emotion. Very strange. You know the guy who used to do strange parachutings and surviving in different areas. He died a few weeks ago by testing something in South America, whatever. They used to drop him off in the remote part of the world, and then he used to come out and show how he's done it by eating different animals.
It's Survivor, wasn't it? Survivor series, is that it?
Yeah, something. I was aware of his death 2-3 weeks before it happened. But we cannot interfere. The problem is not interfering with the conditions and the situations. The problem is letting the process to be, otherwise you interfere with everything which is about to happen.
So there are rules, but you get to sort of bend the rules a little bit because you are giving us hints and so on of how to proceed.
No, we don't bend the rules. We just make you aware of the conditions. The conditions are, I see a lot of people say, oh, Ebola is again, they're trying to kill us. It's 7 billion of you. How can Ebola kills a few thousand people and that's it? How can another disease? 7 billion. There is no way, even with the biggest money, biggest knowledges in this universe, unless you destroy this planet to get rid of the physicality of the man. And they keep you so busy with these things that you don't see what they are doing. It's a magic show. Every day is different thing. As I said, today at the moment, Mr. What's his name? Mr. Microsoft. Bill Gates. It's got a huge amount of money to help with different diseases. But what is the money to help the different diseases? It's all publicity acts. You bring any of the organizations, scientific or whatever, tell them do the same as what we do. Put your knowledge, put your information, put your technology on the table, let everybody uses it. And then you see how honest they are. We do it because we are so confident and we are so free from physical attachment. They won't do it because they calculate how much money in the bank. I don't care. My money is the soul of the people who I have and I support. There it comes, my breakfast again. Thank you very much. So
that reminds me, we probably should start wrapping things up here. It's been almost 3.5 hours, but it's up to you.
Problem. We start teaching in depth from now on. We try to go into everything from now on. Up to now, we had to create the condition that people come in. People like you, Rick, and the people who are around the foundation work this way have to be looked after, that you don't need to because you put your time and your life in supporting and working. So people have to know you don't need to send an email that you would like to work full time, but you're looking for people to support. We've done that. We have supported people who supported the foundation for years that they lived a fairly comfortable life. Since we came to Belgium, we had to change. So we are back on it. We are trying to go back. I have gone directly out to people we know, asking for direct donations to the foundation for research. And this is one thing I never done and I never thought we should do. But now we do because we have to support the foundation in a correct way. People bring us land, people bring us materials to support us. These things do not feed at this moment for the foundation. We need physical things to be put, people who can do. There is so much knowledge needs to be translated, so much knowledge needs to be, at the moment I see this as a handicap. If you are English, you can understand all the works we do, but all the work has to be translated immediately. Our Chinese friends and the Japanese and the, South Americans have access to it directly. This has to be said by us, by the foundation, directly from now on. And we are set out to do. And people put their time, they have to be looked after. And we change the program. From now on, we go to 4 or 5 times teaching, and we have good teachers. I see gorgeous teachers within Marco, within Armin, with John, and Elia, and people who are around us. They have to learn how to share the knowledge without the emotions or trying to go, but disperse the knowledge in the physicality of the matter in respect to plasma. Then now is 5 of us teaching. And then there's more people get more to know, like Vince and others. Will they become teachers and they have to be looked after, that they start teaching. We don't need all to be in Italy. There are gorgeous scientists in China. So we have to teach them that they can do what we have to speak their language. And we have a beautiful guy like James on the line, who's been there for 2 or 3 years now with the foundation. He's done a lot of work in the background and the Chinese team there. We have to be able to give the knowledge to the scientists in China very rapidly that they can develop it. And it doesn't come by 3 hours talking or 4 hours. We start teaching every day. We choose a subject, or you choose a subject. Doctors want to know about certain illness. We go to the what happens to the fiber, what happens to the neurosystem, why you get this conditions, how the system works. They teach us, they explain to us the material side of the body, and we teach them the parallel in the other side. And that these teachings have to be live, available to any doctor around the world to access. It's not the energy anymore. You wanted the energy, we showed you the torch, and at the same time, when people like Wins showed the system yesterday, last week, we open the teaching from next week. We go up, not just teaching 4 or 5 people here. The 4 or 5 people here from next week become the teachers while they are doing the research. For us to spend 10 million to open a center in the Sensano, and for a few people to come here for 2 years to live their life and to go through all the hassles of separation and the pain to serve humanity, they can do it from their home. If you come here as a pleasure to add to our knowledge as a race. So from next week, the teaching goes home to you. You decide how you want me to teach. You decide, we set up the lab, we set up the test together while we do the testing. All the reports from all our health programs will be distributed to the knowledge seekers in doctors, that they can see what it is, what can be done, they can assess, they can write a report on it. They can follow up the patients.
And I'm really looking forward to the child's program teaching, actually. I think that would be a great feature to have. And not only that, I think that most adults, if the child's program is presented properly, most adults would also benefit from it.
I think this goes with the guy who started the suggestion. I think he better move from where he's sitting and start doing it, and we support him. He came up with it, and this is what I knew in China was discussed too. So now you start making program about the plasma, about the physicality, about the breathing, that the children understand. Then there'll be a chaos in the education system, because children will watch something else on the internet and they go to school and they teach them something else. Then it becomes the situation we had in Africa. When I gave a lecture in South University in Sierra Leone, the professor of physics stood up. He says, now you students know as much as I know. I can't tell you any lies anymore. So we start teaching the children parallel, because they are taught something and they learn something else. We cannot change 1 and 1 is 2. But the physical biology and physics is different thing they have to learn. We start the full intensive teaching from next week, and everything has to be recorded. That at the same time, I request from James, if you can do the Spanish group or the French group, the Portuguese language, I have all my time devoted to you. You put a program for the physicist. You want to record for Chinese in physics, we do it, and then the access to everybody else, because they ask this question. You can bring translators, and step by step, line by line, I stop you, translate the questions, we answer. It takes longer, but at least we do positive work. The main objective now is the health to open up, because we didn't pay much attention to it. I've brought it past 3-4 weeks, and next week on the defense technology. We record with people like we do secure a Skype, and then the Skype live stream will be put in public for militaries to have access to Bitcode. And we give it to the militaries to enter, to understand what is to come. I am a great believer, and I believe and I live through security, national security, as being armies, being police, being security, national secret service. Without them, there is no peace. But at the same time, with them, they have to understand, they have to work as collectively as a national, in what they call Earth Army, not national armies. Then the budgets which is used for defending borders which don't exist will become the money for advancement of the man. And that's the whole purpose of we starting this program next week. I will show how we make literally military aircraft invisible in the radar. Then they understand how advanced it is. We make systems that they cannot communicate. At this moment, knowledge seekers, when they left the radio on. When they come back, they see the radio is totally dead, without being touched. So we teach this to the militaries. You have to realize something. To me, armies are the most important factors, governments we have to work with. If we don't do, we've seen the chaos with the name of religion past few weeks. Police forces are for civilians. World armies are needed to stop these chaoses if and when they come up. I don't mention names, I don't take side. But if we have a strong, powerful delivery, you don't need to hit to kill. You create a condition that the guns cannot fire. We cannot stop the work of a knife. But we cannot stop making the knives. We don't need to make the guns, but within instant, all the military guns can be made useless. But what all these terrorists gonna do? They make life mayhem for us. We have to understand what we do. We have to collaborate very closely with national governments, but all on the equal basis. Not to give to one nation for the other nation to be superior or inferior. At the same time, don't give the knowledge to be in the hand of the terrorists. So from next week, we go in-depth teaching, very, very in-depth, line by line, theoretical. You set up the program and I follow. I don't mind working 24 hours a day. Any other question?
I think we better give you a break now and give our minds a break as well.
No problem.
Is that okay with everyone, or is there any questions that someone is on the edge of their seat and really, really has to ask right now?
Can I repeat myself? When you come off the line, go back to the foundation donation line and think how much you learn and how much you can do for advancement of the technology, that we can keep the foundation work, and we can share the knowledge, and we can keep people like Rick on the line, that he can serve the humanity.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll also put up my GoFundMe link that people can make a donation if they like. I could really use it now, actually, so that would be useful. Yeah, thanks for mentioning all that, Mr. Keshe. It sounds like a whole new perspective from the Keshe Foundation about accepting donations and going forward with all that. So it sounds like an exciting time coming up here.
We see what happens, because if you don't do, I become another Tesla and the others, and then you have to wait for a lot. We are aware of what is happening. We are aware of what they're trying to do. We are aware of how much they think their interest is in danger. If you do not work with us, there will be no interest to be in danger. So we share it directly. As I said, I start releasing papers. Do not consider my English, because it's written it with the 1O with a 1A. Correct it, send it to us, we correct it for you. And you choose the pictures, how you want to explain the nano layers in my writing, which I write, and we put your pictures in. Even if it means 10 different pictures on the same number, but with different understanding, we'll put it in. My papers will become your visual display and what you can do. Because up to now, Dirk has done a lot of work trying to translate my work into pictures. Now that you're all educated, getting more educated, you can add to it. And then at the bottom of the papers, we allow any new understanding discoveries to be added at the bottom in the name of the founders or the people who've done it. So we keep the up-to-date in respect to that paper. The first paper will be the nano paper, and then There is a lot of requests for me to release the schizophrenic paper. I will release it. I promise you within the next coming weeks, I will release that paper too. And then we show you the design of the health reactors that the doctors can produce, and hopefully when Ivan comes here, Ivan can explain to the other, what I call doctor physical part, to be able to make it for other people around the world. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. That was a wonderful,
Thank
wonderful
you.
workshop.
All the best, and we'll meet
Yes,
next
thank
time.
you very much, Mr.
Hopefully,
Keshe.
Thank you, sir.
if we can organize the first teaching for, let's say, next Wednesday, we do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Maybe we do the first Wednesday with the theoretical, and we do the Friday with Elia with the medical side. Then we start expanding on the knowledge, and then the following week we open the military defense technology for the armies. Because to me this is a priority. We have to stop this mayhem which has started going on, and only can be done with the full knowledge of the world government militaries. We have to be able to protect ourselves, our environment and our children from the hand of these animals. And only can be done when the nations work together in one, irrespective of the color of the flag. So if we can organize for next Thursday, next Wednesday, for the teaching of the theoretical, on Monday, Tuesday here with knowledge seekers we set up, we'll see what we have to teach, because they have a view from your side, not my side. And then on Friday we'll try to sort out with Elia that how we do the health and how she wants us to explain. You have to tell me what you want to know, and then we structure it around you. And then the following week we go 4 days a week. But there is something we have to understand. Don't make everything at the same time, because then it becomes exclusive to people in the Northern Hemisphere or Southern Hemisphere or whatever, or people who do the shift work. We have to be able to adjust it around the time that people can participate around the world. And if the Chinese want to have a session specific every week for something, I'll respect that, because China is a quarter of the world population to me. And they have to be taught correctly, the right way, and we have a beautiful guy like James and the Keshe Foundation team in China who supported us. And so now we start putting back in the country what they have given us. So work on that program, tell me what you need. We do the first teaching on Wednesday on the theoretical. And by then we try to set the camera that can be understood. People want to know the theory. And then people can go and study it in their own time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that guidance. That's helpful. Okay.
Have a nice weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And so ends the 25th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And once again, thanks to everybody for joining us and having lots of great questions and for your presence here. Okay. Bye for now.